closer.
Go ahead, Elioff.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show here at Westwood. I'm here with Superintendent Dr. Matthew Strom. Thank you so much for having us. First of all, what kind of love and pride fills your heart right now when you see the players out here just putting in work?
Yeah, so at Mesa Public Schools, we want to know each kid by name, serve by strength and need, and get ready for college, career, and community. And part of that is understanding that the three ways we really value getting them ready for college, career, and community are through the arts, academics, and athletics. And so there's a lot of pride in seeing these kids out here athletically perform today as they show off their talents and abilities for their future.
And you mentioned a few of those things, the arts, athletics, etc. What is the thing that kind of made you want this position and want to make an impact?
Mesa Public Schools is a long-standing pillar of this community, and stepping into this position comes with a lot of responsibility to the community. It's a lot of rich history here. We're here at Westwood High School, War Eagle. We have a lot of pride in Westwood High School, and every high school has the same atmosphere. So one of the reasons I wanted this position is because of all the long-standing history of the largest school district in the state of Arizona, and all the impact we've had throughout just not the city of Mesa, but the state of Arizona at large.
You mentioned impact. How do you hope to build upon that impact in your time here?
Yeah, in terms of football and our football coaches, we've had a lot of recent success. We've had two state championship runs recently, once from Coach Enders over Red Mountain, once from Coach Litton at Mountain View this last year. And we're just looking to build upon success. Mr. Eubanks, our athletic director, has provided a really fantastic opportunity for coaches to come here, get agency in how they run their program, agency in what they can do to impact the lives of kids, and have high expectations. And we're just looking to build on what we're trying to do athletically.
And do you feel like even maybe Mesa Public Schools, as far as athletics, a little underrated here a little bit?
Well, I don't know if we're underrated. We have a long-standing history of multiple state championships, all the way from Gary Ernst winning basketball championships over Mountain View year in and year out, all the way to football championships at Mountain View year in and year out, with the most recent football championship being a girls' state flag championship. So I don't know if we're underrated. We put our mark on the fields and the courts when we compete, and we're ready to compete with anyone in the state.
And for you in general, you mentioned Mr. Eubanks. Why are you so excited about what he brings to the table year in, year out?
Yeah, he's just one of those people that looks at things through a different lens, understands how to innovate and get better, and constantly is looking at continuous improvement. And so what we think we have in Mr. Eubanks is the ability to help our district move forward with not just athletics, but kids and their character development and being better human beings in the competition arena, and then outside the competition arena as well.
And we actually have something on sports360az.com called the All Academic Team that we do every semester. How important is it for you, for these athletes, to know that it's not just about athletics and having that balance in the classroom as well?
Yeah, we value academics. It's one of our 3 A's, arts, academics, and athletics. And having our coaches understand how important the academic arena is really important. Coaches will value at the next level the fact that kids can perform academically as well as athletically. And two of our new hires, Coach Newcomb over at Dobson High School, Coach Hathcock at Mesa High School, both understand the importance of academics and preparing kids for their future. If you have the ability to show a lot of discipline on the field, you're going to have the ability to show a lot of discipline in the classroom, and we know that those types of things translate real well. Discipline in the athletic arena and discipline in the academic classroom.
And we talk a lot on Sports 360 AZ about two-sport athletes and why it's important to kind of spread their wings, which, first of all, it seems like you agree, and if you can speak on that a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so, I was the former head basketball coach at Bash High School. I don't know if a lot of people know that. And we were constantly looking for two-sport athletes. And we know that college coaches in particular value the kids that don't just play one sport but can play a lot of sports because of the fact that they then get to develop a lot of fine area motor muscles in a variety of different fashions, and they keep their physical aspects kind of attuned in a lot of areas. And then competing with on several different areas of teams is important too. The team aspects of football, the team aspects of basketball, the team aspects of baseball are really different components, and kids learning how to team in different atmospheres is really important.
Now, of course, a lot of these athletes want to make it to the next level, but how important is it to know that there are a lot of options, D1, D2, throughout the state and the country for these student athletes?
Yeah, there are a lot of options throughout the state and the nation in terms of pursuing athletics. If you desire, my youngest son right now is going off to MIT. He's going to be a freshman at MIT. He was a wrestler in high school, and the fact of the matter is he'll be able to participate in club wrestling, which who knows about club wrestling at MIT, right? So there are want to pursue athletics, and it's important when these kids go off to college that they understand that being involved in the college atmosphere is part of college life, right? And that can be through athletics, that can be through clubs, that can be through extracurriculars, but they need to be involved in their community, and that's why our calling in Mesa Public Schools is to prepare kids for college, community, and career.
College, community, career. What are some of those things in the classroom that you feel prepare them for careers in this life?
So what we have in Mesa Public Schools is we have our college and career academies that are kicking off this next year. And what we do is we integrate learning across a variety of different subjects at both the 9th grade level and the 10th grade level. And that 10th grade level comes with a strong component of career exploration through academic content. And we push their academic content to a deeper level, at a more rigorous level, in order to make sure that the kids not just are exposed to math, but are exposed to math through a career lens, are not just exposed to science, but they're exposed to science through a career lens. And so at 5 of our comprehensive high schools next year, we are putting a distinct emphasis on career development through these 9th and 10th grade experiences that we're giving the kids.
And you mentioned innovation earlier. Is that what you meant by that? Those certain kind of initiatives that you're trying to keep going?
Yeah, I mean, ASU has this statement going around right now that's like evolve or die, and so yeah, I mean, Mesa Public Schools, what we know is that we need to be in the constant evolution process of what next iteration of next thing is going to be best for our kids to live in, to be the next leaders within our community. And what we want to have happen is we want to make sure that our teachers are empowered, our staff are empowered, our leaders are empowered to always look at the next iteration of improvements to make outcomes for kids better.
You mentioned empowerment. How do you feel like the board has empowered you to kind of go about this role and take it on?
Yeah, we've always had a really strong governing board in Mesa Public Schools. They've always been really fiscally efficient, fiscally responsible for our local taxpayers and their money. And so this governing board empowers us as leaders to go out and live within our portrait and our promise. That's our strategic plan. And once we live into that portrait and the promise, they give us a lot of ability to function as long as we're headed in that towards that North Star of what they envision, that portrait promise that they've set for us. And then what they do on the backside is they hold us accountable. They make sure that we have measurements and metrics in place to say to ourselves, hey, are we getting better at what the governing board has planned out through the strategic plan? And so they give us a lot of liberties, let's not say freedoms, let's say liberties to explore next innovations so that we can live into our portrait and promise.
All right, now as we take a look around, Ralph, if we can show the people where we're here and what we're looking at. All right, I'll call you coach for this one. How fun is it for you to see these athletes just doing their thing?
The fact of the matter, my wife's side of the family, we're really good football players at Phoenix Union High School and at Mountain Point High School and Tempe Union, and it reminds me of the days when they were out competing, throwing the football around, and tackling people at high speeds in a very safe manner. We practice safe football here. Let's be clear. We practice safe football here in Mesa Public Schools, and our coaches are very aware of how to try to keep student safety at the top of the strategy when it comes to football. So yeah, this is a great amount of pride watching these kids run around. I remember these days playing basketball. My dad was a head basketball coach. I remember these days in the gym, and I love watching kids get out and compete and improve their skills.
Now this part's for the kids. This part's for the kids. What's your message to them about just appreciating this time when you have all the physical ability and everything?
Right. Yeah, there's no time like youth, and I guess they sometimes say that we waste a lot of our experiences at a young age not knowing how valuable they are, and so just enjoy the moment, right? And enjoy that you're here and able to do what you're doing on a daily basis, because it does pass quickly. And as we used to say in the basketball coaching arena, the ball goes flat for everybody someday. Whether that's for Whether that's for kids that eventually play college, but for 100% of us, even the ones that play professionally, like the ball goes flat for everyone someday, and you always have to know what's next up.
Well, before we send it back to the Jordans, any other messages you want to relay to parents or athletes watching as we send it back up to the booth soon?
Our message is really clear. Hey, if you're looking to enroll in a great public school system, Mesa Public Schools is here to enroll and do the best by you. We're going to know your kid by name. We're going to serve them by strength and need, and we're going to get them ready for college, career, and community. And we hope that across the options and portfolio of schools we have in Mesa Public Schools, that everyone can find a home.
The new superintendent, Dr. Matthew Strom, thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, fellas, I'm going to swing it back up to the Jordans up in the booth. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Eliav. Thanks, Dr. Strom. What a great way to kick off the Mesa Public Schools Showcase here this spring. A lot going on around the state, but we have all 6 Mesa Public Schools coming in. Jordan Ham, Jordan Spurgeon, Sports 360 AZ. We have wall-to-wall coverage. We have Eliav on the sideline. Claudia Collins and Jordan will be doing a lot of in-depth interviews here throughout the morning. We'll also have Cody Cameron breaking it down. Nobody better in the business when it comes to that. And Jordan, when you just look at what this group, what this district has been able to put together this morning, what jumps out to you?
It's remarkable getting every school together to say, listen, we want to get our guys to the next level. We want to make the time to find all of our players that want an opportunity to play, whether it's a Power 4 school, whether it's an FCS school, whether it's Division 3, NAIA, wherever it is. Let's get them together and get all kinds of scouts out. Because when you look at the coaches among these teams and the amount of college recruiters and college coaches they know and they're connected with, and the fact that they're able to share that with these kids all in one place, it's remarkable, because this is a loaded coaching staff here in the Mesa district. And so these players are very lucky to kind of get out here and be together and have those opportunities today.
We're here at Westwood High School. We got the Warriors here kicking things off along with Dobson at Red Mountain. Then later in the day, we'll have Skyline, Mesa, and Mesa Mountain View as well. So all 6 teams will be on the field. We got a lot going on the field. 3 teams at a time going, but we're going to be able to break it on down. And when you think of the Mesa Public Schools, this district, you think of a lot of history here, a lot of schools that have been around for a while. But as Dr. Strom said, they are really looking to revamp things each step of the way to make sure that they are, continuing to evolve and really kind of keep up with the times, make sure that everything is going on.
Well, it's cool to see, too, because we've seen, over the last couple of years, there was a couple districts doing these, and now you look at every team posting their spring ball schedules, and just about every district in the state is putting on these showcases, and I think it's so cool. It's helpful for recruiters. It's helpful for the kids. It's helpful for the coaches, for them to connect as well, and so it's really, really cool. Helpful for the media, too, because it's hard to get out to every single school. I see some
very
other media members
media
out here. Adam Beadle making the rounds. He's everywhere. There's all kinds of people here just checking on these kids, getting highlights, learning about the teams. It's a great way to just kind of get to know all these guys in one setting. It definitely helps everybody involved. So it's really cool. And Mesa is one of those districts that's been at the top of it with everything, with their media days in the fall, now their showcases here in the spring. I mean, it's just, it's fun to see. And I'm excited to see all the drills and the different things going on today.
It really is cool to see how these showcases have evolved. Really, it was around 2019 when some folks kind of came up with an idea of like, hey, what if we just kind of made it a fish in the barrel situation for coaches, for media, as you said. Let's get some teams together. Let's try it out. And you've seen it kind of expand throughout the state. It goes all the way down to Tucson. You've seen it, west, east, and now you're seeing these dedicated district days, really just showing what they're all about. So right now we have Dobson on the field, we have Westwood, and we have Red Mountain going. 3 different teams really trying to evolve, and again, going back to the history for 2 of the 3 coaches here on the field, Brandon Large of Westwood and Kyle Enders of Red Mountain. They're alums of the teams that they're coaching right now, and really just speaks to the history and the pride that they have for Mesa schools.
It's kind of a theme here in Arizona we've seen lately. Obviously at Arizona State with Kenny Dillingham, and now with so many different coaches here going back as alumni to become the head coaches. It's really cool. Kyle Enders has done a great job taking over this Red Mountain program. They were in really good shape with the previous regime, and when he stepped in, they just took another step forward. He's a defensive-minded guy. They've been one of the top defenses in the state with playmakers all over. They get to a 6A title title game 2 years ago. Last year, they go on a deep run. At one point, we're almost an open division team. I mean, they are loaded. They've got so much talent all over, and they have been one of the best teams in the state the last few years. So excited to see what they do. And what Coach Large has been able to do at Westwood, you know, this program has been reinvigorated. You know, all the Mesa schools, they've gotten new fields, new weight rooms over the last couple of years because of the funding and everything that has come in and the investment. And Coach Large has really taken advantage of that and bringing this program back to its glory days, making it a program that's competitive week in and week out, can compete with any of the Mesa schools, can compete with any of the schools in the state. And they've got a lot of guys that are just fun to watch. You know, I think Coach Large is taking advantage of maximizing these guys' opportunities. And so, you know, they may not always be the quote-unquote most talented team on the field, but they're going to fight, and they're going to continue to stack up wins and stack up the culture, and I think that's really cool to see.
You mentioned stacking up wins. They had 5 wins last year. That matched the total the previous 2 years combined. So you're seeing those incremental steps every single year. And for him, when I was talking to him ahead of this, the unique part about this team is this is the first group that's been with him for 4 years. So those seniors know the drill. The juniors are very familiar as well. And they bring back a lot of talent from last year. And as we look now also at Dobson High School, Bobby Newcomb coming in as the new head coach, hired March 17th. So it's just been a couple weeks. It has been fast and furious for him. But he's really been trying to lay the foundation of the culture he's trying to build, bringing in players, making sure that they know. And honestly, you know, just seeing the guys on campus, seeing some of the athletes, talking to them, seeing if they'd be interested in coming out for football. So you know the resume that Bobby Newcomb has over at Castile, now making the move to Dobson. Just what stands out to you about that addition to the Dobson program?
Well, it's a great hire. You know, we heard the superintendent talk about it earlier. There's so many great coaches in this district, and Bobby Newcomb only adds to that. You know, what he did at Castile, bringing that new program to heights so quickly. We hadn't seen a program rise divisions as fast as we saw Castile, and it was because of how he did it. You know, in their district, they were kind of the little brother, and they had to kind of fight and crawl, and they were always competitive. And, you know, I see some similarities at Dobson. You know, this is a program, again, on the up and up. They're really trying to rebuild and make a mark for themselves. And I think Bobby Newcomb's the perfect guy for that. He's a culture setter. He has so much experience from playing back in the day, and he's just done a phenomenal job. So I'm excited to see what he does at Dobson. You mentioned the late start, you know, getting hired March 17th. It's definitely going to be tough in the spring, but I would imagine these guys buy in really quickly to what Bobby Newcomb wants to bring and the toughness that he's going to instill in them, and I think it's only going to benefit them. And, you know, I've been to a couple new coaches in spring ball so far, and, you know, we keep it real. Sometimes the first year it's hard because you're instilling a new program, and the buy-in with seniors on a new coach is not always easy. But if anyone's going to have a quick turnaround, I think Bobby Newcomb is one of the guys that can do that.
You mentioned the toughness. Some other things when talking to him, what he wanted to bring to this program: substance, consistency, and love. And if you spend some time with Bobby Newcomb, you can certainly see those 3 things. He also used the term foundation of excellence. That's what they're trying to build right now here in his first spring. Again, getting going here just a couple of weeks ago, but already making some progress. So as we take a look around what's going on, we have some linebacker drills, some secondary drills going on here with Westwood as well as Red Mountain as they run around. And as we shift gears to Westwood, you look at their quarterback, Elliott Smith, just under 2,000 total yards last year, 19 total touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. A guy that I know Coach Large is very excited about. Also plays rugby. We talk about the 2-sport athletes. One, we're going to highlight some of these throughout. There are a lot of multi-sport athletes here in this district, but that one jumped out to me. Playing rugby, especially as a QB, that's not one you hear very often.
You know, and that's one more thing I want to touch on with why these showcases are important and why they're so cool, because there are so many 2-sport athletes. We highly encourage that here at Sports with 60AZ. I know lots of coaches here in the district encourage that. And so when you have a showcase, you do it this way where it's, hey, 8 to 11 on a school day. You might be in your baseball season. If you're in a playoff game, maybe you're not here, just saying. But if you want the opportunity to play football the next level and you were finishing up track or whatever, this is your chance to get out there, because spring football practices aren't always going to be something that a 2-sport athlete can make because they've got a spring sport they're in, track, baseball, whatever it is. So for them to have the opportunity to still come show up and show out, I think that is super important, because at the end of the day, you want to create opportunities for 2-sport athletes, because sometimes 2-sport athletes can feel like they're missing opportunities in a certain sport by playing another sport, and then they decide to only become a one-sport athlete. And as someone who did that myself, I don't know if that always works out. So I think it is really cool to see, with the way this is formatted, that there are some two-sport guys.
And that's something that all three coaches touched on is we want the multi-sport athletes. We want the guys to come in. We don't want them to have any FOMO that they're missing out. We obviously need them to buy in and be dedicated, and there might be some schedule shuffling that might need to happen, but we're going to try to make it work with our other coaches. And in terms of Coach Enders, he said, I was a guy that played multiple sports at Red Mountain. I get it. I want that. Coach Large said 40 players went out for wrestling last year, or this current off season. A lot of guys, if you're not playing basketball, go wrestle. If you're not playing baseball, if you're not doing boys volleyball, go run track. So they're really trying to take the holistic approach almost of let's make sure that we have some great athletes here, not just great football players. So let's take a look here over at Red Mountain as well. This is a deep group. It feels like every single year the linebackers are just kind of heat-seeking missiles that really can, really take over a defense. So, and that goes back to Coach Enders. He was a linebacker back in the day. The linebackers coach is an alum. And with this defense, that's I feel like one of the more consistent groups that we've seen here in the state over the past decade or so.
Yeah, like we said before, Red Mountain has been one of the top programs. We'll get back to that in just a minute, but real quick, Eliav Gabai, what do you got for us down there?
Hey, thanks, guys. I'm here with Arizona Christian Offensive Coordinator Brett Nelson. Coach, thanks for joining me. How much fun are these days for you when you really get to see the talent in the state?
Oh, man, it's just the best. Getting to not be in the office. All our guys just left campus last week, so coming out and seeing new guys showing out for the next couple weeks, getting to see all the talent in Arizona, it's just always fun to be out on campuses, getting to see all the different coaches and just build relationships.
And for the players watching maybe from home, and they're going to have a few more showcases going on, what are some of the things you're looking for in these kind of days?
Yeah, so it's a little unique in Arizona, obviously not getting to wear pads. Like, I coach offensive line, so for me, I'm just looking for quickness, movement, and, for the skill guys, ball handling, and really can you take coaching, right? Your coaches, there's a lot of people moving around. There's a lot of different things happening, and you're just getting started back into spring ball. And so it's, can you be coached by your coaches, and how do you respond to that? Those are some really big things for us is movement and can you be coachable? It's still very young and early for a lot of guys in the recruiting process. The other part of it is just getting to know guys, right? Talk to the coaches about, hey, who's showing up? Who's hitting the weight room still? It's May. School's about to be done. Are they still showing up to class? Are they doing the things to set themselves up for the fall? Those are really the things we look for.
And everybody talks about, okay, the play on the field, but you just mentioned the people that they are. How crucial is that in your search when you put together your roster?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. Those are huge indicators. The classroom and the weight room are two of the biggest indicators of whether you're going to be successful in college or not, because you're not going to have your parents waking you up. You're not going to be having people setting your schedule. We set your schedule, but you got to fill it on your own when you're in college. And so the big thing for us is, are you a self-starter? We'll figure out whether you can play on the field or not. But at the end of the day, it's, can you help yourself?
And what are those discussions like with student athletes as you get to know them? What are those questions you're throwing at them, as you kind of get to figure that out, kind of figure out what they're made of?
Yeah, the first question I always ask guys is, do you love football? What I'm asking really is, are you tough, right? Do you like the adversity? There's nothing wrong with wanting to go and hanging out with your friends. Football's a great sport for that. But when you get to a higher level, it's hard, right? Because everyone's fast, everyone's strong. And are you willing to sacrifice to get through to the next level of football? And if the answer is yes, then we're always interested in those guys.
Now, for the parents watching, which I know are pretty much just as important as the kids watching, what's your message to them about, getting their student athlete to the next level?
Yeah, the biggest thing is showing up on campuses, meeting with coaches, and just supporting your athlete as best as you can, supporting the coaches around you. The biggest thing I'll say is for parents is we love it when we hear from coaches that, oh, they're great parents. They're just supportive. They're helpful, right? The biggest, I'll be honest, there's always those red flags of, you ask the high school head coach, hey, how is their family? And they go, well, they're constantly talking to me about their kid, and questioning me and stuff. Any college coach is not going to be interested in that. They just want someone who's there to help their kid, to help their student. Because at the end of the day, it's all about getting the degree, graduating from college. Football's great, but it is the ability to use football to get what you need out of life, right? Because football doesn't need you. Football is going to help you.
That's right. Football is going to be here tomorrow and be here the day after that. For you, as we're talking about red flags, this is educational at the end of the day. We want people to learn from this. When it comes to the student athletes in those interviews, what are some of those red flags that you've seen from those that you don't end up choosing?
Realistically, there's just so many multiple factors on that. The one thing is just be confident in yourself, right? Answer questions, the best of your ability. The thing I always look for is guys that are just genuine. Even if you don't know the answer, always be excited. There's a lot of different levels of football and a lot of education that needs to happen, especially in our state. Because not everyone gets to play at the highest level, and that's totally okay. But, we have 8 guys right now playing overseas, and we've had 2 guys play professionally in our program. And it's just the understanding that you never know what happens in recruiting, especially nowadays. I have a lot of guys that, I love that I recruited years back that are calling me saying, hey, I just want to go somewhere where I'm going to be taken care of, right? It's just the reality of the world we live in nowadays in the football world. And so it's always just, be genuine and be grateful that someone's talking to you. I try to make sure that, I level the expectation for the kid when I meet with them with the understanding that, hey, I might not be your first choice. Hopefully I am. But you know what? At the end of the day, I might be your only choice. So that's the reality for a lot of these kids, is understanding that.
And Coach, we appreciate your time with us. A couple more for you here. For anyone else watching, again, what are some of your biggest tips right now for, as we see, Raph, if you can get them, all these different drills, all these players, what are some of your biggest tips right now for them?
Yeah, just be loose and have fun. For the most part, you're not going to earn a scholarship just by doing these drills, but it's the beginning of it. It's again, can you be coachable? Can you move well? And do you enjoy football? If I see those things out of a kid, that's the first question I ask the coach. Who's that kid who's having fun out here? Because they're the ones that are going to last.
Absolutely. And now the last one for you. This is your chance to brag on Arizona Christian and how the program's been going so far.
Yeah, I've been there for 7 years. It's one of my favorite places to be at. I've coached Division I, Division II football, and Coach Bowen does a really great job. We take care of our kids. In a day and age where it's very transactional in relationships, we're transformational. We care about our student athletes. We actually just graduated 42 guys from our program. We have a 90% graduation rate. We're the 9th fastest growing university in the country, and we play in the toughest conference in the NAI. We had 5 teams in the top 25 last year. 3 teams make playoffs in a 20-team format. And so you have really good football in Phoenix, Arizona, and we're always looking for guys. We build off Arizona talent. Over 45% of our rosters from Arizona, so we're always looking for guys who want to play really good football with a high education and a great atmosphere.
Okay. Your real last one. How underrated are Arizona high school football players? I mean, come on.
Oh, man. They're not underrated at all. No other coaches need to come to Arizona. No, I'm just messing with you.
Smart man.
Yeah. No, it's just so unique because it's grown so much, especially with the population growth. I mean, you're talking, you got at least a couple 100,000 student athletes that can play at the next level. But the cool thing I see is a lot of my coaching friends, more and more guys I see every year showing up to Arizona, showing up to these things, because they see the talent and the talent level has risen. And, people like you guys bringing that to the forefront of getting these kids exposure, and makes it easier for coaches to be able to see these kids. And so it's a really awesome experience to just see over the last decade the growth in Arizona football.
Well, appreciate you, Coach. Brett Nelson with Arizona Christian. Back to y'all in the booth.
Thanks, Eliav. Appreciate it. And as we look at this, what's going on here, we also look at just the landscape a little bit in terms of opportunities for students beyond high school. Yes, you're going to have your Jacoby Lanes who go to USC. You're going to have your Zeke Branhams who go to Fresno State, Jaden Green, who went to Washington, some of these guys that were in the district just a couple years ago, but there are so many opportunities at D2, at D3, at the NAIA level where you can get your education paid for, you can continue to play the game you love. And I think that's really something that I think from a Sports 360 AZ perspective, we've really tried to encourage players just to look at other opportunities. The D1 or bust mentality oftentimes doesn't necessarily work for a lot of players.
And here's the thing. If you really believe you are a Power 4 football player and you're not getting those offers, you go to these schools with the intention of getting an education and playing your football career. If you have that potential and you are putting in the work and you can live it up to with the transfer portal nowadays, you will end up there. We've seen all kinds of guys start at a community college, at an NAIA school, at a Division II school, at an FCS school, and work their way up because colleges are looking for that. And if you're developing, you're coachable, you're taking care of your grades, and you're really kind of, maybe a late bloomer, you're growing into your body, all those things, you will end up there if it's meant to be. If not, you can have a great time at an Arizona Christian University and get your education, covered while still playing football and get all of that done. And that's what it's all about. It's about fit because sometimes, someone that I use as the example all the time, Devin Dampier, could have gone to so many programs. He goes to New Mexico State so that he can be in New Mexico. Yes, exactly. New Mexico with the Lobos so that he can have an offense built around him, and he became somebody that became nationally known last year. Now he's over at Utah. He follows his coach. So he went for fit above just quote-unquote program allure, and it's worked out great for him so far. And there's so many such cases where the fit academically and on the field is way more important than anything else that you can measure.
And to take it even one step further, if you have NFL aspirations, obviously a lot, that is a needle in a haystack situation. But how many times do we see in the NFL draft a lot of these small school guys that just have years and years of tape because they got on the field early that are now NFL evaluators say, hey, I see something there. So there is no one path to go ahead and have success on the field, have success in life, a lot of different things. Like you said, I thought you said it perfectly. The fit is so crucial. Let's get back to the action on the field as we see Dobson going through what looks like some defensive back drills. We got the big men out in the end zone as well. And then for Red Mountain, we have some of the pass catchers coming through. And it was really funny for this showcase, doing some prep, talking to Kyle Enders. He highlighted some of the wide receivers that were coming back for him. And he was like, we really got to showcase some of these guys because we love running power and counter. That doesn't really work when you're in basketball shorts here in the off season. But definitely distinct identities, certainly, for Red Mountain, for Westwood. Obviously, these coaches have been there for a while. We'll see Dobson's identity here as Coach Newcomb continues to get his fingerprints on the program as well. But as we look at Red Mountain, 83 track athletes this year. So they have the speed. They love, the athletes. You have Ty Cornett, Josh Lee, two guys that wrestle. A lot of guys have been playing baseball as well. At one point, Coach Enders told me last year, their boys basketball team, all 5 starters were football players.
Wow.
So just continuing to hammer home the athletes and not just the football players that are here. When you look at Red Mountain's defense, Jamison Wade, 4 years on varsity. He's their leading tackler. He's coming back. Cade Bodare added 30 pounds of muscle. Cole Edmonds also started last year. So they're bringing back a little bit of a core here that they continue to build upon. And we were touching a little bit on the linebackers before we threw it to Eliav. But one thing that Coach Enders said when I asked him about those linebackers and how it seems like they always have just these heat-seeking missiles flying around, he said that when you're a senior, you take a lot of pride that the group doesn't drop off once you leave. And that, he goes, that goes back to when I was playing there. So it's been 10, 12, probably even more years of this position group making sure not only, hey, I'm the senior stud, but making sure that everybody else below them, all the younger guys, are continuing that standard as well.
Yeah, you mentioned Jamison Wade. I mean, he's one of those that as a freshman kind of blew up onto the scene, and it was because of practices like this, in the summer and all that gave him that opportunity. But, before that, there was a couple guys on our end. We do stuff with the National Football Foundation that either won the Ron Pritchard Linebacker of the Year award or were in contention for it at Red Mountain. It's been a position group that has always had somebody in the running for that, including him this year. I'm sure he'll be somebody that will be in consideration when the fall is over. So that is something that they take pride in, and the middle of their defense is always stout. And I think it goes to show what Coach Enders is all about, and it's about continuing a culture. This is a program that is known that they can just bring guys in and continue building on what they've done the last few years and consistently turn out wins. And so they are one of the gold standards, not only in the district, but in the state for how to build a strong defense year in and year out, how to build a competitive offense, and be a team that can play with anybody. And I think that is something that Coach Ender takes a lot of pride in.
As we look at the Dobson Mustangs, what's going on with them, Micah Newcomb also making the move over with his father as well. Bobby's had the pleasure of coaching all of his sons at the next level. That's pretty cool. As a guy who grew up coached by his dad in Little League and everything like that, you think of the memories linked to that, and the fact that they get to continue to do that is pretty darn cool. But he's going to be a tone setter as a linebacker, as a running back, in the locker room as well. And then Bobby Newcomb really was just praising Tremaine Taylor, the versatility that he brings. He's a DB, wide receiver, plays 4 sports: football, basketball, track, and boys volleyball. So a couple of these guys, he says, has really kind of stood out, really, taken on that leadership role. And he goes, we didn't really need to coax anybody or anything like that. It felt like the leaders were kind of already established, and they were able to really kind of take hold of their roles and make sure that they're, taking care of business as well.
That's important. To step into a program and instantly feel like you have guys and leaders that are buying in, that are on board with you. It's not easy in high school to go through coaching changes. It's not something that's easy. We've seen a couple schools have multiple coaches in multiple years. And so over here at Dobson, having to see that you've been making some progress with the culture in a program, and then having a new coach and having to be the guys to create that buy-in. Those are the kinds of guys that people want to see at the next level. That's the kind of guys where Arizona Christian is going to go ask Bobby Newcomb, who are some of the guys. Bobby is instantly going to say, well, this guy is a great leader. He's been killing in the weight room. He's been establishing the culture that I want to be built, and he's going to start putting the numbers up on the field as well. So I'm interested to see how that works out with Dobson. One thing I want to see with them today, I want to take a look at their offensive and defensive line drills, because that usually is kind of a litmus test on where a team is going to be at going into the season. What's their size like? What's their strength? What's their versatility on the lines? Because that kind of is the determining factor in how quickly a program can really rise. I mean, there's other factors, of course, leadership, toughness, grit, but sometimes the size is something that can be an early litmus test on what they're going to be able to do.
And for a lot of these teams, in conversations with coaches ahead of time, a lot of these linemen are going both ways. They're in the offense, they're on the defense as well. So they are a well-conditioned group, and so much of it, as you said, you can have the best wide receivers, you can have the best quarterback, but if they don't have time to pull off what they're going to be doing, it's not going to be a very successful offense. And on the flip side, if you can disrupt another team doing that, you're going to have a pretty high rate of success as well. And as we look at Red Mountain's offensive line, 3 of their interior guys all coming back. They need to replace 2 tackles, but that's something that Coach Enders really wanted to see, as he said. Josh Lee, the center, has been very, very crucial to their success, and they also return a couple of guards as well that have played a lot of football for him, and now it's just a matter of it's a great problem to have when you have guys move on to the next level and go ahead and graduate, but now it's a matter of figuring out who those tackles are going to be as well.
Yeah, that's what the spring is all about. It's a good chance for these coaches to kind of evaluate. There's also going to be other factors. Most of these schools have transfers that they'll start seeing in the summertime. Some may be already on campus that may or may not be able to attend spring practice. Some coming to campus that they're sort of semi not aware of, but things are going to change. But the spring is a good start to begin that evaluation on what you're going to do with replacing starters that have graduated, especially on the lines. It's a good place without pads even to just kind of see who's making progress in the weight room, who's working on their footwork after practice, who's doing the little things with their offensive and defensive line coaches to fill those gaps.
So as we take a look here, Westwood High School, we have Red Mountain, Dobson, and the host Westwood Warriors here on the field going through drills. A gorgeous morning. Again, this is a special time of year here in Arizona. I don't know that many other states that have really taken on the showcases and really run with them in the past 5 or 6 years, but they've really seen them develop here to really, again, make it a one-stop shop here for coaches, for media, just get an eye on everything, help get some names out there. In Elyov's interview, you heard no one's necessarily going to get an offer just from today, but it's a great data point to have and see how not only how do you interact on the field, how do you go through drills, what are the cuts? Obviously they can get an up-close look at some of these guys, but it's also how do you interact with your teammates? How do you take coaching? How do you compete against your own guys? So many things that coaches are looking for. They're trying to complete the puzzle as much as they can, and this is just another piece to that puzzle.
And the other piece that I always make sure to reiterate at these camps, at these showcases, is it's great for the coaches too. There's lots of guys on staff that, want to advance their careers. They want to meet college coaches. They want to get on college staffs. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Everybody wants career advancement, and it's a good place for them to have those conversations. And, if there's some schools out here and they're looking for coaching vacancies, whether it's now or 5 years from now, they might meet some assistant coaches today who are going to be the next big thing that can move up on their staff. So these events are really cool because it gives an opportunity for coaches among high school community to, be with each other, as well as with all these college coaches where, not all these college coaches would have been able to make it out to all 6 of these programs on 6 different days or on, a span of 2 or 3 days. They have other schools, other players they got to get to, other states potentially they got to get to. So to have that opportunity for all of them to see these athletes and to get to know each other as coaches and build relationships for themselves and even for their future athletes when they find a guy that could be a good fit for that program and they want to reach out, it's a win-win for everybody involved.
We have the Westwood quarterbacks tossing the pigskin right now. We already talked about Elliott Reed, 6'2", 190 pounds, class of 2026. Also, a guy that Coach Large pointed out, Gavin Gleave, class of 2028, 6'1", 175 pounds. 2 guys that can absolutely spin it. So a couple of talented quarterbacks, and obviously it depends so much on the program you're in, the style you're running. But it's also a matter on the coaches trying to figure out what the skill sets of each guy are and how to accentuate that. And I feel like Westwood's been able to do that and develop that the past couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, it's important when you have a guy under center that you trust to run the offense and be a leader of your team. You can go as far as your program is capable of going. That's sort of one of the most important things. We talked about how important it is in the trenches and how important the culture is, but beyond that, the next important is having that signal caller that can just go out there and when it's time to get the job done, they're going to go out there and get it. And that's one thing to look forward to with Westwood. We talked about, last season being a big step forward for them. When you have continuity and you have a guy that continues to grow and lead and develop, your ceiling climbs higher and higher. When you're a program that wants to go from 2 wins to 5 wins, from 5 wins to 8 wins, if you had a guy that was starting as a sophomore or junior and he gets to continue to stay there and start multiple years, you get a great opportunity to continue growing as a team.
Red Mountain, as we're talking about signal callers, Dominic Carmagiano, QB transfer from Chandler. He's going to be sitting the first 5, but a guy that I know that Coach Enders is very excited about. And then he said, look, we have some young guys we're excited to see what they're able to do, and we're going to put them in some pressure situations and see how it goes and see what happens throughout the season. But another kind of role, obviously, Red Mountain's identity has been a little bit of ground and pound, but they've also had some great athletes in there, and when the right personnel is there to sling it, they certainly will. We go back to the Lennox Lawson days and the Jacoby Lane days, so that Coach Enders one that can certainly adapt his talents, but it's going to be an interesting look at these quarterbacks moving forward, what they're going to be able to do here throughout the rest of the summer, and then the first 5 as well, and then kind of see where it goes in the second half of this upcoming season.
And what's always fun about that, too, when you get a guy that transfers in, they're going to sit 5 games. On the outside, a lot of people go, well, whoever the other quarterback is, they know they have a clock and that's it. But we've seen so many situations, even at Red Mountain, where there was a guy at quarterback and he had to sit for a reason. And Simon Lopez comes in and absolutely deals. And it became a battle, and it became a thing where Simon Lopez ended up winning the job. We've seen it at Higley. Somebody takes them to a state championship. A big-time transfer comes in, and they find ways to split, and eventually he ends up taking the job. It's something that as a quarterback, yes, there's only one on the field at a time. But these guys that are behind him right now, yes, they expect him to be the starter after 5 games. They have an opportunity in these spring showcases throughout the summer and in those 5 games to win the job still. Like, that's how this works. And it's going to be, Coach Enders is somebody that's very clear. It's going to be whoever's playing the best that is the guy for the job. It's not going to be handed to one person regardless. But super excited to see what he does and the rest of the room as well.
And you look at Wyatt Horton over at Pinnacle from a couple of years ago. Pinnacle has become kind of quarterback you the past couple of years, and there have been a lot of quarterbacks that have transferred in, and you need to scratch and claw for your opportunity. I think Wyatt certainly exemplifies that, because there were a couple guys, I think, throughout his career that were really gunning for his starting spot, and he just didn't look anywhere else, not knocking anybody that does look for other opportunities, but he just hung in and competed, and he has a very decorated career, and now is headed off to the next level. Yeah,
that's something that I think is an important trait, and that's something that I'm sure when he was looking at schools and eventually settling on Idaho State, those were conversations that were had with coaching staffs, the fact that he was able to handle a competition like that. So we say all of that to bring it back here to Mesa, that you're going to see lots of different quarterbacks out here. Some of them have quote-unquote earned the job. Some are transferring in expecting the job. These competitions don't end. Like, there's always someone coming for your job. There's always somebody else that wants that position because, again, it's the only position where there's only one guy on the field at any given time.
And we look at it on the college level. Obviously my beat is now more a little bit college, but we have guys that are coming in, and yes, Sam Levitt is certainly the guy, but Jeff Sims' job is to go push him as hard as he can go and as far as he can go and see if he can overtake him, where nothing is really guaranteed. So it really is, it doesn't matter where necessarily you start in the depth chart. It matters where you end in the depth chart. So that's just, I think, a lesson at any level here in football, that you can have the highly touted guys come in. You can have the guys with, the offer sheets, as long as a CVS receipt. But if you're a ball player, if you're a Jacob Manu type, you can just come in and really try to, take that opportunity like he did at U of A a couple of years ago. So let's focus here back on the field. In terms of Red Mountain, their wide receiver game, we have King Robinson and we have Arion Wyndham, two playmakers coming back. But real quick, we're going to throw it down to Eliav Gabai on the sideline.
Hey guys, appreciate it. I'm here with NAU Director of Player Personnel, Tim Roshman. Thank you for joining me. Now, I know for these kind of days, you got a lot to do with recruiting. What's it like, seeing all this talent over here in Arizona?
Yeah, it's great. These days are awesome. Obviously, get out to the community and everything like that. They're running a great event here over at Westwood. They got coffee, treats for us, all that good stuff. So they're taking good care of us. But it's always good. You see a lot of old friends and everything like that, people I've coached with, coached against. And then, like you said, a ton of talent out here. Allows you to really evaluate a lot of kids in one compact area. So Arizona makes it really, really nice. Between this week and next week, they're going to be almost every school's in a showcase in some form or fashion for us to hit.
Now, when you're out here, what are those specific things you're looking for anybody watching as the showcases progress in the state?
Yeah, I think, obviously overall athleticism is always the number one thing. You're looking for the twitchiest, the fastest, the longest athletes you can find, right? And that's just off the cuff, especially if you don't know them coming into the showcase, right? We obviously have our list and our prospect list that the coaches provide, but you're looking for people who stand out. So sometimes that's an individual drills, a 7-on-7 segment, things like that, right? Where just someone pops athletically that separates themselves from the rest of the pack.
You mentioned separating yourself. What are some of those green flags when you're having conversations with students that you look for?
Yeah, I think, just obviously knowing their GPA is a big one. A lot of times you ask them what's their GPA and they kind of stutter, they don't know, or whatever the case may be, right? Knowing your GPA, obviously it being a high GPA is an important thing, right? Just having a personality, right? Being personable. And I know some kids get nervous when they talk and all those types of things. That's not a big deal, right? But you want someone who can hold a conversation, make eye contact, all those different things. Just a pleasant conversation is really all you're looking for once you make contact.
Well, at the end of the day, right, we're working to be kind of coworkers at a certain regard, and that's what life's about. You have to get along with your teammates. I know I get along with my guys, Jordan and Jordan up there for sure. Now, when it comes to the conversations with the parents, that I know is a whole nother ball game, what are some green flags you look for them as they watch and learn from this?
Yeah, I think, the big thing with parents, I always say, is just support your kid. It's not your scholarship that's being earned. It's not your spot, right? So a lot of that can sometimes, when they're trying to be helpful, maybe they're a little bit overbearing or whatever the case may be, right? Support your kid, be there for them, be there in the recruiting process, educate them, right, on those things like handshake and eye contact and and knowing their GPA and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's their process, right? I'm not recruiting the parent to play at the next level, right? I'm recruiting the kid.
And what's your conversation like with the kid about, like, listen, we love talking to your dad or your mom, which maybe they've been used to that with them talking to coaches. What's your conversation with them about, like, we're really trying to get to know you as a person?
Yeah, I mean, I always tell them that, like, you got to be your own person. And, at the end of the day, you're going to be the one making the plays on Saturdays. You're going to be the one that has to go to class during the week and all those different things. So just, if you can't show me that you're able to handle that every time I need something from you, mom or dad has to reach out to me to get it done, then those things can be, I guess, a red flag, at a certain point.
Now, for you, obviously big into recruiting, how much do you feel like the sport and the talent has grown in this state?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an Arizona guy. I played high school football out here. I coach high school football out here, and it's just been exponential, right? I mean, I graduated in 2015, and there were some good players coming out back then. Obviously, Christian Kirk was coming out around that time, right? But I feel like the depth of it has grown so much, and seen at the showcases where, I don't know, I've already seen 12, 13 Division I schools out here this morning to recruit, right? That's awesome to see. So, and the coaches are the ones who really have made it. I think the coaching has gotten better in Arizona. Staffs are doing more to get their guys recruited and all those things, and it's paid dividends. I mean, I think we're one of the best states on the West Coast for recruiting, for sure.
Now, you mentioned the coaching in general. How in those ways have you seen the coaching, I guess, talent grow as well?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of young coaches, right? A lot of guys that have been around it, that have built, fed into the young coaches. I mean, that's how I was. I was at Liberty High School, Millennium High School, right? And Coach Early and Coach Thomas have been around the valley for years, right? But they brought me in, right, and developed me and all those different things. So I think that's been the biggest thing is the coaches that have been here and have really made this place what it is, pouring into the young coaches, right, and expanding their staffs and giving them responsibilities and all that stuff. So that's been cool to see.
And specifically when it comes to these showcases, you just mentioned it. We're seeing more and more of these showcases around the state. How crucial is that in what we're talking about, the growth of the sport?
Absolutely. I mean, we're obviously Northern Arizona. We're going to recruit Arizona no matter how difficult they made it on us, right? If they practice at all different times, we'd make it work, right? This is our home state. This is where we want to be. But I think for those outside schools that maybe can only spend a week here, 2 weeks here, right? Whatever the case may be, it's phenomenal, right? You walk in, you get your little prospect sheet. You have 3 schools here right now, 3 schools here in a minute, right? You can see a bunch of prospects and get your time's worth, right? And I think that brings people back as well, right? Because they know, hey, a week in Arizona is worth my time, right?
Now, for you at NAU in general, how have you seen that program also just continue to get better with the years?
Yeah, I mean, I think, year one last year was a really successful year for us. Coach Wright does an unbelievable job, our head coach. I mean, I think he's one of the best head coaches I've ever worked for. He just runs it the right way, builds the culture the right way, right? There's a lot of challenges, especially around culture in today's day and age with the transfer portal and with more new faces on a year-to-year basis than there ever has been. But Coach Wright leads that thing, and we have unbelievable connection up there, and we're building towards, improving on year one and continuing to build, through the Valley and through Southern California. So we're excited for year 2.
Yeah, going into year 2, transfer portal is always crazy, right? But how has that opened the door for more Arizona athletes to come back home?
Yeah, we've done some of that. Darvon Hubbard was one that came back, right? Nason Coleman just recently, right? One that came back, right? So absolutely, to your point, that does give you that opportunity maybe to get a kid the second time around, right? And all those different types of things. So that has been cool to see.
Now, before we send it back up to my man Jordan Ham up there, if you had just one message to these students, your student athletes here, trying to stand out, make a name for themselves over the next few weeks, what's that message?
Yeah, I think, my big thing is just run your own race. Recruiting is a tough process. I know there's a lot of big dreams and sometimes dreams that don't come true and all those different types of things. But at the end of the day, it's your process. If you really want to play college ball, you work your tail off, good things will happen, right? Just control what you can control, right? And the 3 things that really have never changed is be a good person, have good tape, right? And have good grades, right? So those 3 things are the only things you can control. So worry about that piece of it, right?
And don't forget the all academic team on sports360az.com coming out. Spring teams coming soon. Nominate your people. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
yeah.
All right, the Lumberjacks. Look out for them in year 2.
Go Jack.
Back to you, Jordan.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I appreciate
absolutely.
it. You know what? Let me get your number.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Sorry, some technical difficulties there. I'm trying to. Shouldn't have me run the board. I'll just put it that way. Strictly talent fingers here. But it was crazy. We just were talking about NAU.
All right.
Cody
Thank you.
Cameron
Yeah,
appears.
yeah. I'll talk to you soon.
Out of nowhere. It's crazy how that always happens. But Cody, first impressions. What jumps out to you about what's been going on here on this field? What we're going to continue to see here throughout the morning?
Kind of love what Tim said there. One, absolutely, NAU Lumberjack alum here, so it's great to see him out there. But what jumped immediately out for me, Jordan, is he goes, hey, we have 12 Division I coaching staffs out here watching these kids too. And it's not just that. We have the D2 staffs, we have the D3 staffs. I walk in and I see Charlie Regal, surrounding Dobson football, and so to have that opportunity for those kids to, one, showcase their talent in front of a local coach like that at Arizona State, at NAU, but also have an ACU and Ottawa University out in Surprise. It goes back to what you and Spurge were talking about pretty much the first 30 minutes of, hey, listen, the D1 bus mentality, we do not want to fall trap into that. Granted, shoot for the stars, right? That opportunity is there, and we're going to showcase our talent in front of those coaches, have that opportunity, but we're going to have the NAIA, the D3s, the D2s as well, also looking at us. Creating that opportunity, that is what these about. And me and you, we were at that first showcase, what was 2019?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like Red Mountain, Queen Creek, Williamsfield. To see how it explodes to what we have out now is so cool for me to see. Look at this broadcast. I mean, heck, look at this. It's amazing. We have all these people out here, all these coaches. Just seeing how it developed in the last 5 years is so special. And once again, the message behind these have never changed. It's always about the kids.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And as we look at the three teams on the field here, as we see Westwood getting some 7-on-7 in, looks like Red Mountain has some 1-on-1s. Dobson getting in some drills as well. Just what jumps out to you about our host, Westwood, and the job that Brandon Large has done? And as this program continues to build, like he's told me before this is his first group of seniors that have been with him for 4 years, and that continuity has to be important.
I think it starts at the district level. And the reason why I say that, Jordan, is a couple years ago, Tommy Eubanks stepping into that district AD role, which I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago, something like that. But now, but at the district level, I think Mesa Public Schools took this standpoint and said, "Hey, we need to dump some money into some facilities, and we're going to support. We're the biggest district in the state. Let's show support for our athletics." And you go to any Mesa Public School, and you see the brand new turf fields. You see the weight rooms that these schools have. And then, heck, some of them, like you look at Mountain View, and they have the practice turf field. Like Westwood, such a proud school, and to show is to go, hey, this is an arms race because we're in an open, it is pretty much open enrollment in the state of Arizona. Mm-hmm. There's schools in our backyard. I'm tired of seeing these kids go to Chandler, tired of seeing them go to Hamilton. To see what Coach Large has not only just accomplished, but in terms of at the district and the school standpoint, it's saying, hey, we're going to support our athletics. We want to support our student athletes. I think as a whole, as a district, it's been phenomenal. And then Brandon Large, him being the alumni, coming back to Westwood, it's a story that we've kind of seen frequent here the last couple of years at the high school scene. But I love that because it matters. You cannot tell a person like that or his coaching staff. I'm sure you've already made note of the defense coordinator being his brother-in-law and the offense.
We actually haven't. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm going to take your thunder here.
Go ahead.
This is what happens when you go.
Go ahead and unveil.
So, but as defense coordinator who coached with him at Higley under the Zuby tree, Coach Litt being his brother-in-law, and then also the receivers coach and offense coordinator also coming from Perry, also being related to his first cousin. Those stories, you cannot tell that coaching staff, Jordan, that it does not matter to them, right? I mean, it is 100% matters. There's so many ties back to the alumni base. I did hear you talk about Kyle Enders, same thing, right? As these stories, that matters. And when it matters to the coaching staff at that level, it impacts the kids in such a positive way. So it's amazing.
And when you even talk about current players on the team, for Westwood in particular, there are 5 or 6 guys whose great-great-grandfather owned the land that became Westwood High School. So, like, these are deep roots here in Mesa, a lot of pride, and the fact that they are, now getting to show out on the field, on this brand new field, and everything that comes with it. Like, that's just a really cool thing, and things you only see in high school football.
100%. And so going back to the field and first impressions, it's just making it more special. And I think it's a community effort. You just mentioned, hey, the 100 years of pride on the land and the school and all that, and making a school and community effort on this is amazing.
And as we just take a look at the field for Red Mountain, we see Jaden Wyndham out there, young tight end. That was one player that Kyle Enders really wanted to point out to me, that this is he's got things you can't coach. And so that is something, obviously, you're always looking for as a player, and then kind of fine-tuning some of those other things. So some young players here getting a great opportunity here on the field. Yeah, and Kyle Enders, man, he just talk about being one of the best coaches in the state of Arizona. Jordan, you mentioned it, but his journey from alum of Red Mountain to the defensive coordinator to the head coach, he makes that program so special, and he's had such great kids, really good coachable kids in his first 3-4 years as a head coach at Red Mountain. And sounds like we have a guest over in the annex. Jordan Spurgeon, Claudia Collins over there. Let's toss it to them.
Thanks, guys. You might know us as the hosts of Bleacher Talk, Claudia Collins alongside Jordan Spurgeon. And you were you getting flowers from Cody Cameron over here. We've got District Athletic Director. Yes. Rarely likes to be nice, but I guess in your favor. District Athletic Director Tommy Eubanks here. And, this is a fantastic event and really, in ways, the first of its kind. So, first of all, congratulations for putting this together. Biggest district in Arizona. Yeah. So it really is, a mission putting this together. What's it like on your end, making this showcase happen?
Yeah, it's been great. It's something we've been talking about the last couple of years to make it kind of all work and come together. And, working with Brad and your team and having kind of a close relationship and other facets of different things we do throughout the year with media days, et cetera. Kind of when we got together with Jonathan from Bamboo and Brad and kind of said, hey, what do you think this could look like? Everyone was like, yeah, this is awesome. So yeah, I think you're right that this is the first, and I think other people will see the ability to stream it live and have the interviews and do all the cool stuff and just promote the kids and what we do. I think it's just going to continue to grow throughout the state. So.
The showcases in general across the state have been incredible to see the growth. It started with a district or two, maybe having this idea back in 2019 and kind of getting it rolling. And now pretty much every district, every school region, they've got them going on. What's it like just knowing this Arizona community wants to do this? Because it's great for everybody involved. It's great for the kids because the college recruiters come and see them. It's great for the coaches. They can meet some more recruiters that are in other guys' Rolodex. Yep. What's it like for you to see this?
Yeah, it's been a pretty cool evolution. So back when I was the athletic director at Desert Vista High School, when these first started, they were kind of one-offs at different schools. And then I actually connected with Coach Peterson at Red Mountain at the time, and then Coach Mons at Saguaro, and us as kind of the main event holders coordinated to kind of block off 1 week for this is the week for college coaches to come. And that's how it kind of all started. And then you started seeing the West Valley pop up, and then the Phoenix Union Showcase, and it kind of grew from there. And but yeah, it's just going to continue to get bigger and bigger.
I think that's just a testament to the way talent has grown here in Arizona. I mean, even from me starting out here 4 or 5 years ago, I feel like I've seen it grow before my own eyes. From your perspective, how important are things like this for exposure? I mean, the exposure is there, don't get me wrong. Coaches are here every chance they get. But how have you seen that exposure grow? And how do things like this really become a testament to what Arizona high school sports look like?
Right. Yeah, I mean, look at all the talent that's getting drafted into professional sports from Arizona. And, you have 40, 50 schools out there right now watching all our kids. And I think that's the goal of these showcases, to make it easier for them. And not that they have to have an excuse to come out to Arizona, but the weather is just awesome, and being able to see hundreds of kids all in one sitting is just, again, you're just trying to make it easier for the college coaches to want to come to Arizona, see a bunch of schools all at once, and get on and do their job. So it's been a huge success. Yeah, it's been awesome.
And even here in Mesa, I was talking about it with Jordan Ham up in the booth earlier, and these recruiters, they only have so much time, and so in this district specifically, I'm sure plenty are always out at Red Mountain, plenty are always out at Mountain View. Bobby Newcomb now at Dobson, he'll be getting guys there, but to have them all in one place, it gives these guys an opportunity to play at, unless you're a Power 4 recruit, sometimes you have to be in more of these situations where they're coming to you to kind of see you find that fit academically, football-wise, whatever the level is. So just seeing that, so many more kids are going to get opportunities if they want to play at the next level, no matter their talent or their skills, that they can have those coaches come out. What's it like for you?
Yeah, it's, you see kind of every level of school, and just like there's every level of student athlete. So, in certain circumstances in the past, kids wouldn't ever get this opportunity. And that's really what it is creating opportunities for kids and giving them this best experience. The majority of kids in high school football are not going to go to the next level, right? What's the percentage? 3% go on and play in the next level. So what can we do as educators, and in my role specifically as a district athletic director, what can I do to create that experience for them that they'll never forget? And this is just one of those opportunities. Whether a kid gets to go to the next level or not, they're out there and they're in front of a college right now competing. And that's something that they'll be able to tell their kids when they're older. So it's about creating lasting memories and giving them opportunities and having fun at the sport that they love. So.
You talk about this being all about giving kids opportunity. Mm-hmm. That's something that, I'll give Mesa School District their flowers. That Mesa School District individually does a wonderful job of. And, we were hearing you guys talking in the booth, talking about all the upgrades that many of these programs have had, new weight rooms, new fields. I mean, they're playing on a gorgeous field today.
Yep.
How important, at the end of the day, you're like, a field is a field, a locker room's a locker room, but how do you think that impacts the drive of these guys? And maybe just these little things that, come with a dollar sign sometimes, actually do have an impact.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it goes back to what I said before of creating the experiences. 97% of these kids aren't going to go on to play college, but they got to work out in an elite weight room that they took pride in. Right, and they get to have the fancy locker room, right, and they get to have the film room where they can, they just everything that they could want or the coaches want exists here, and so it's really fun, and it's a priority for us. We have, Westwood just put in their weight room last year with Samson equipment, which is elite stuff. We're working on their locker rooms. Are going to be happening this summer. And that exact scenario exists all throughout all the Mesa schools. So yeah, it's been really fun, and something I take a lot of pride in is the facilities. So.
That was a tease to us moving over to the weight room. You were going to show us some reps.
Do some cleans. Yeah.
So the rotator cuff just healed up. I guess I can get in there too.
Yeah, there you go.
But doubling down on that too, I heard Cody mention it, and it plays a lot of roles. Like you said, it gives them that experience. But then too, over the last decade plus, a lot of the top talent in this area would, because it's open enrollment state, they'd go on to Chandler, they'd go on to Saguaro, they'd go on to the West, they'd go wherever. How have you seen these investments start keeping the top players? Because I think it's the investments, I think it's the people that have been hired, hiring like a Bobby Newcomb, Kyle Enders being an alum of Red Mountain, Brandon Large being an alum of Westwood, they care about the community. How have you seen sort of all those things start keeping Mesa kids in Mesa?
Yeah, that's been a big part of it. The first thing I did when I came in as the district athletic director, and my former boss, who's since retired, Holly Williams, I asked her to go on a tour, and we went and looked at 7 or 8 different high schools. just to look at their facilities, look at their weight rooms, look at their locker rooms, look at their gyms, see what exists, and kind of compare it to what we're doing here. And it was evident at that time we had to make some significant changes for the exact things that you said, because it is an open enrollment state. Kids can go look at other places to attend. And I'm not, to be perfectly blunt, I'm not in the game of wanting anyone else's kids. I just want my kids to stay here. And so I'm a big proponent of community schools, because the aspect of students transferring that people really don't think about is, yes, open enrollment's fun and it's fine, but imagine if you were at the super elite school that competes year in, year out for whatever champion it is, and you grew up across the street from that school, and you're a pretty good player. So you can kind of sense where I'm going from that. I grew up cheering for this school, and then I'm ready to go as a freshman, and then 5 kids come in, and I never play.
Yeah.
It's, that's the byproduct of the open enrollment when it comes to athletics. So I like I said, I'm a Mesa proponent. I'd rather have my community kids here and compete, and we'll see what happens with our Mesa kids.
I mean, we saw what happened last season. 2 teams that are here playing today obviously got the opportunity to, go to the playoffs, attempt a state title. You know, what are you expecting this season after last year?
Yeah. Coach Litton just knocked it out of the park, man. There at ASU, and I would have loved to have seen a healthy Brady Goodman getting after it. And so I'm excited to see what they're going to do this year. He's really good. Coach Litton does an awesome job, and so does Coach Enders, and like you said, Bobby Newcomb, Coach Hathcock, Adam Schermeyer out at Skyline, Coach Large here at Westwood. I mean, we got things going in the right direction. I'm really happy with the staffs that we have across the district, and I'm excited.
Well, Tommy, we appreciate the time. We'll get you back out in the sunlight.
Yeah.
Enjoy this beautiful weather before it gets too hot this week. Couldn't have planned it better. The weather's perfect.
And don't forget,
right
Jordy Ham started at Chaparral covering the Firebirds with me, and you're welcome for allowing that to happen, Jordy. So
you hear that, Jordy?
You're only here today because of him.
Awesome. We'll send it back to Jordan and Cody.
cool.
Spurge and Tommy Eubanks on that interview. Go back with Tommy to the Chaparral days, seeing his ascension, the work he's done, and the impact he's made out here in Mesa has been really, really impressive.
I loved what he said too, because it was kind of a perfect segue of what we were talking about the backyard kid. He fully admitted right there. He said, "Hey, I want to win with the backyard kid." And let's be honest, Jordan. I mean, I live on about 5 minutes from here, Stapling in the 60, around a lot of these Mesa public high schools pretty much every day for work and other things. And there is a ton of talent. I mean, Mesa is a massive, I think it's per population, one of the biggest cities in Maricopa County, if not one of the, I know it's the biggest school district, but there is so much talent in Mesa. And it's all about keeping those kids at Mesa schools. And so kind of going back to the facilities and what we were talking about, going, hey, he wanted to learn. He said he went to 7 to 8 different high schools to look at how they revamp their weight room, the field. And let's just be honest, that is marketing for sports, but it markets your school. It markets their school. How many times do we get to, and this goes way deeper than football, but how many times do we hear school districts going, hey, they're losing students, their enrollment numbers are down. This is a great way to get enrollment numbers up, people excited about extracurricular activities that just go deeper than the sport of football, and just create a better student-athlete experience and student experience for these really, really proud schools. And so that's all marketing for kids in the neighborhoods. And I think you're starting to see that trend once again. I wrote a tweet about this a couple months ago that said, hey, for years, especially I got here in 2017, you've been down here for, your most of your life, but you've seen Chandler Unified. Chandler Unified's been the king, right? And now Mesa's making that wave, and the East Valley region last year, which primarily had mostly Mesa Public Schools, Jordan, I would say that was the toughest region in the state, you know, and they were beating Chandler Unified teams. And so I just look at that district is the trajectory on the way up, and then something like this, once again, is just amazing for everybody involved.
And look, this is also a very nuanced conversation for anybody that does transfer. That's not a knock on them.
Nope.
It's not anything. But it is the schools making it so great that you don't want to leave.
Exactly.
And that is something that I think Mesa has really taken a ton of strides in the recent years. Because look, there are always going to be people that transfer. Back when I was playing high school sports, we could expect 2 or 3 coming in every single season.
At Chaparral? No way. God, that's crazy.
Yeah. Just going to leave it at that. So, you know, it's going to happen, and you can't knock a family for making a decision for what's best for their child and that sort of thing. But it is also what we're trying to highlight here is the work of, we want to make this so great that you don't even think about moving schools, or you have everything you need to become a great person, a great player, a great athlete, a, you know, functioning person in society.
And going to your point, and Tommy also brought this up, he said another thing about it is I feel like we've hired great people, great individuals. So you look at the 2 hires in this district this past year, with Bobby Newcomb going to Dobson, and then Jeremy Hathcock going to Mesa. And you look at their pedigree, you look at their resume, those are coaches that players want to play for. One, they've been successful everywhere they've gone. I mean, you look at Bobby Newcomb's resume and what he's accomplished in his life, and his doctorate degree, and what alums say about him, and the success of his alums out of Castile and where they sign off to, that is extremely impressive. So to bring somebody like that in a program, let's be honest, win-loss record has struggled mightily the last couple of years, and you get kids to love the game. That's what Bobby Newcomb does. He gets players to love the sport of football, you know, and so to get that passion back in, have his connections. Okay, Bobby being at Castile, he has all these collegiate connections too. He's all about helping your player, not just on the field, but also create that opportunity to get a 4-year degree. That is huge. On his staff, he added a Bruce Binkley. He was the Apache Junction head football coach for many years. He's coached for 35 years. So now you have a staff with 2 head coaches, you know, and that matters in an offensive line group, which I'm looking over here, and they got tremendous size. And he's going to teach them how to move. He's going to teach them how to bend. That stuff matters. Jeremy Hathcock, and we'll talk about him the next session here, but same exact thing.
I was over at practice at Dobson yesterday, and the loudest voice was Bruce Binkley. And you could just tell the passion he has. And, you know, there were a couple times where things didn't go quite right, and it was instruction, and it was, you know, it was never negative. It was always, hey, we need these adjustments. And then when you would see that click happen, no one was more excited than he was on the field. It was so cool to watch, and just brings you back to just like what this is all about obviously, you know, we're trying to get student athletes opportunities in college, but also just like overcoming adversity, taking instruction, learning, growing, pushing yourself beyond what you thought you were able to do. So just like, it was such a cool little microcosm in those 10 minutes I just watched the offensive line there yesterday.
Yeah, it's the now. Like, it's how do we get better now and every day and today? And that's what Coach Binkley, he's so passionate. You hear the phrase, right? Like hard love, right? Like hard love. With him, it's the flip. Hey, I'm gonna love you as a person. I'm gonna love you as a player. I'm gonna coach you hard. But that passion, and I will, no matter what I tell you, I'm gonna try to practice what I preach type of thing first. You know, and so I think that's absolutely amazing. It's a heck of a staff that Bobby's put together, and Coach Binkley is a great offensive line coach.
Cody Cameron is here. Let's talk some recruiting, okay? But first, we're going to throw it to the annex. We'll talk recruiting on the other side. That is what we call a tease in the business. What's going on, Jordan and Claudia?
Good tease, Jordy. I like that one a lot. But down here, we've got Mountain View head coach Andy Litton. And Coach, you're coming off your first season in Mountain View. You get to the 6A title game. And you're here in spring ball now, year 2.
Yeah.
What's the same? What's different? What's going on?
You know, it's nice because we can really kind of jump in, and a lot of our guys know our system. They know our coaching staff. So there's a lot of similarity, but we're still navigating the new with the younger guys. And so we're trying to figure out, like everybody is, who we are and what we have. And, I think that we've done a good job so far.
I think a lot of us in the state know who you are, what you have. One of the first things that come to mind is your quarterback, Brady Goodman. We were talking before we went on air here, navigating this spring.
Yeah.
He's a baseball player, a star baseball player, let's say.
Yeah.
You also mentioned your top 2 quarterbacks, him and another, also play baseball. So you're kind of working on developing those younger guys. But what is it like navigating spring football when you've got, maybe Brady running in late from a game, he catches the last 30 minutes of practice? What's that like?
So, our top 2 quarterbacks, Brady and Brock White, who both played and won the game last night. It's good because it allows us to kind of really focus on the younger guys and get them caught up to speed. We spent a whole lot more time on defense, which we've changed things up from last year on our defense. We have a new defensive coordinator, Brian Lynn, who's done a really good job. And so it's kind of allowed us to focus on what we needed to focus on. And then when Brady and Brock are out there, they're, a lot of times they're just watching and coaching. So they've really helped the younger guys come along too, off of, learning the system. And I think that you really truly know it when you can coach it and you can teach it. And I think that they're taking that next step.
I kind of want to bounce off of that real quick, just because we talk about multi-sport athletes so much at Sports 360 AZ. There can be some hurdles to overcome when we're talking, spring football mixed with baseball, track, things like that. But what do you see as far as the value of having those guys that are involved in other things?
Well, I truly think that the baseball team is having success partly because we had success, right? So our guys that play on that team, they know how to win, they know how to prepare, and I think that they help that team, along with those other baseball players, learn how to win in those tight settings. And then in doing so, those guys, when they come back, they've had, stressful moments at the plate, in the field. And so I think that just translates to everything that we do in sports. And I think it just helps them in life, So you're going to see Brady come out here and be excited to play football because it's not the only thing he does. So I think it's really exciting for our guys to see baseball having the success they are.
While we're here, we were seeing some of the action already on the field with the first 3 schools. What do you think so far? Your guys are getting out there soon for this showcase, but what's it like being a part of a district that's, pushing the ledger a little bit on what these showcases do and, being able to connect all these coaches to these young players?
I think that Mesa District is one of the most refreshing districts that I've worked for to date. They love sports. They really try to help in any kind of way, whether it be facilities, getting coaches on campus, putting on events like this, supporting the teams that are having success, and then helping those teams that might be struggling to kind of break out. And so I think that this district really prioritizes all, athletics, academics, everything. And I think that they really, truly want to be the best in everything that they do.
Feeding off of your season last year, make it to the 6A title game. Didn't end up the way we wanted it to be. And I say we because I picked you guys to win as well in our quick picks. But what are the things that you guys have learned from that? Obviously, there's extra drive because you've been there. You know what it takes. Yeah. What's the extra drive this season look like? What are you really working on?
I just see that the kids are as hungry as they ever have been. And being a coach that's won a state championship and a coach that's been in a state championship where we lost, I think that how you come out of that is kind of representative of how your season finishes, right? So a lot of our guys feel like they didn't finish what they went out to accomplish, and I think that that's helped them in the off season. You're going to see it on the field. It's helped them be excited about football, be excited about learning their spot. We have a lot of guys that are cross-training in other spots that I didn't think that we were able to do last year, and so I just think that it's really helped us springboard in having a really great off season. Excuse me.
I want to ask about your schedule. What excites you about your schedule? I know coaches don't pick out one particular game. We don't care about rivalry, supposedly, but what do you like about your schedule?
I like that we play one of the best schedules in Arizona. You know, we open up at Liberty, we play Basha, we play ALA Queen Creek. Those are all open teams. You know, but the team that we're most excited for is Red Mountain. That's the one that we always look forward the most. And then Mesa is another great rivalry that we like. So we love that fact that we have those traditional rivalries on our schedule and that we get to play the best in Arizona.
Okay, so we do have a game underscored.
Oh,
I like
sure,
it.
yeah,
Thank you.
Keeping it real down here. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, unfinished business. Are there a lot of returners from last year's team? Yeah.
So all of our skills come back except for our outside wideout on offense. So, you know, we have 2 talented tailbacks that come back from last year that got time. Talon Arnett, who broke the state record for touchdown receptions, comes back. Zach Galavis is at the other slot. He's also playing some corner for us. And then Diego, our center, comes back, and then obviously Brady comes back. So all of our skill players come back. We got to figure out the 4 offensive linemen that we lost up front. On defense, Rain Curiel comes back. He's our top inside linebacker. Cannon Rabin, our outside linebacker that played. We have Brody Anderson, our safety, Myra in our corner. So about half of our team comes back, but we replace a lot of bigs. And so we're really excited about our guys coming back and finding those holes that we're missing right now.
Getting back to the showcase a little bit, we were hearing Eliav Gabai talking with some of the college coaches that are down there getting looks at these guys. And one of the things that I found interesting is that both of them mentioned like they want to see these guys out here having fun. Who on your team can you count on to always be having fun at things like this?
Zach Galavis is the most fun of any player that I have. He'll always have a smile on his face. Steve Meto will have a smile on his face. He plays tailback. He'll play some corner. And then Rain Curiel, he brings it, our inside linebacker. Those guys, really, our guys love football. And so, but those guys will always stick out as having a lot of fun.
Last thing that I've really got for you then, so you have a trend now of being a guy that can set a culture quickly. You know, you got to Horizon, you win a title right away. You got here, you get to a 6A title right away. What does it take to set a culture, and what do you want moving forward in year 2? Because even here in the district now, we've got Bobby Newcomb, who's done very similar things with what he did at Castile. Now he's at Dobson. We saw Jeremy Hathcock get Ferrado very far in the 5A playoffs. He's going to be at Mesa now. He's looking to set it. What are some of the things you've learned about setting the culture that you want very quickly?
I think that it's really important to understand and find the things that are successful now and that kids and parents and the community values, right? So you don't want to change the things that aren't broken, but then you also have to make sure that you come in with your own style, your own characteristics, and play to your strengths. And I think that we as a staff, I was very lucky that I brought most of my staff from Horizon. So there was a lot of continuity with that. And then being able to work with them quickly and identify, hey, that's a kid that I think could fit in our system here or there. And then getting the kids to buy in. So we're very big in building relationships with kids so we can coach them hard. So I think that our kids genuinely feel cared about, and it helps buy-in. So when you get buy-in, kids care, and you're all on the same page, I think it helps to turn things around quickly.
Last thing before we send it back to our Sports 360 AZ team, what's your motto for this season? I feel like coaches always have some catchy slogan or something happening.
We're always, our motto is always the same. We're no excuses. Everything that we come out, we're going to come out, play hard. We're play Toro tough. We don't make excuses for mistakes or try to explain things. We just come out and work. So that's what we do. We're always no excuses.
Appreciate your time.
Awesome. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Thanks, Coach Lynn, Jordan, Cody. No excuses up there in the booth. Keep killing it, right?
Yeah. All right. Great stuff there by Andy Litton, Spurge, and Claudia. Now let's toss it on down to Eliav Gabai on the sideline.
Thanks, Jordan. We are bouncing around here. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We're bouncing around here for the spring showcase. I got Ripon Associate Head Coach Mike Hepp. Coach, thank you for joining us. Beautiful day out here in Arizona, huh?
I love it. I feel like I'm back home in Wisconsin right now, so it's lovely. I'm hoping tomorrow stays the same way. I don't think we're gonna be as lucky though. So.
Yeah. It's one cool day, one hot day. Now these players, they don't care. They're here, rain or shine. What have you seen so far from the talent?
A lot of impressive stuff. There's a lot of guys you can tell they put in a lot of work from the fall to the spring, and it's just nice to get a chance to come out and showcase what they've done. So it's been very impressive, and it's been a great event put on by Westwood. So.
And I've seen coaches kind of take their time pulling certain players, talking to them here and there. What are those conversations like?
Just mostly an introduction conference, just kind of say, hi, how's it going, introduce yourself in school, and when you're at Ripon College, you're not at ASU or U of A, got to kind of let them know who you are and where you're from, and just let them know you'll be in contact with them a little bit and just kind of start the recruiting process. So
Now, for you personally, what's that balance like with kind of introducing who Ripon is, what Ripon is, and just understanding that, hey, this is still an opportunity that you really should be excited about?
at least initially, it's more about building a relationship and just kind of getting to know the kid and what they're looking for and making sure it's the right fit. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of options out there for a lot of kids and making sure that they all find the right home for themselves. So more about building that relationship and then kind of dive into the details later on in different conversations.
Now, everyone talks about on field, but that relationship building, that's huge. How can you speak to how much of a difference that makes?
Oh, it's our whole recruiting process. Division III and just kind of small school football in general is a lot different. There's a lot of schools out there that have 250 kids on their roster, and that's not going to be us. We're more based on relationships and kind of that one-on-one development. It's more of a 4-year kind of development than it is than a 1-year kind of burn and turn type stuff.
So yeah, a little bit more about the differences when you go small school and you try to recruit for small school. Is it different in the kind of player you're looking for, or what's that process like for you?
Not necessarily the player. Obviously, I think we were all kids once. We all wanted to go to the highest level, and I'm from Wisconsin, so if I could have played for Madison, I definitely would. I just wasn't good enough. But the D3 level, there's definitely more of a balance of you're not just selling football, you're selling a life after football and the college experience and kind of everything off of that. So it's an exciting, different process and different opportunity for kids.
All right, well let's give you that chance real quick. Why should student athletes think about Ripon more often?
Personal attention, individualized education. We're one of the best schools in the state of Wisconsin, produce the most pre-med students than anybody in the state of Wisconsin, and we're the winningest school in our conference history. So it's a great balance of both football and lifestyle. So a lot of positive things kind of going.
Now, we've said it a couple times on this broadcast. We do have the all-academic team on sports360az.com. Go check it out. Go nominate your student athletes for spring. For you, how important is it to see that they do care about the classroom?
Oh, it's important, at any level, but especially the Division III level. Like football can only take you so far, and the grades are really what make kids stick. So, in Division III, money comes from academics. It doesn't come from athletic scholarships. So, the more it's important, the more it's going to matter, because it's going to be, like I said, it's not just football; it's a holistic view is the approach we try to take. So.
Now, one of my favorite things to do with these segments is to educate the parents and the students. So when it comes to the parents, what should they know about the recruiting process and what they can do to help without overstepping?
Yeah, I think just being there and being supportive and just kind of tracking your son. I think it's a great learning experience for a lot of kids. It's going to be the biggest decision they've made in their life up into that point. So just to be there, support them, and kind of help them out that way. And like I said, not overstepping, but at the same time still being involved and kind of helping them, guide them make that decision. And it's a process in that way.
So we'll go over some red flags and some green flags. Okay, we'll start red, then we'll go green. As far as red flags go, when you're out here, what are some of those red flags that you're again, we're trying to teach these students for other showcases that they should stay away from?
Body language is a big one, good or bad. We want to see how kids respond. Everybody makes mistakes. We're all humans that way. So, but how you can respond and move on to the next play is going to be huge. How you interact with your teammates. Are you willing to do the little dirty things that might not look as fun as exciting, and are you willing to hold bags if you're a first team guy for the second team guy and that type of stuff, right? So if you're not willing to do that, that's usually a big sign to cross you off the list. So.
Okay, and now green flags. Give me some green flags, Coach.
Green flags, 6'4", 290, can run a 4.4. That's okay. But no, just like I said, having a good personality, being supportive, like obviously, taking coaching well, looking people in the eye, giving a firm handshake, all that stuff that you're kind of looking for that the kids have been taught from a lot of times, usually from parents and coaches. So.
Yeah, so you mentioned, I've heard a couple times, the shaking the hands and looking in the eyes. It feels like, the kids got to learn some of those just regular people skills, no?
Well, I think it's everybody, it's whoever you're talking to. Like I said, it's making sure you're getting the right guys in the door and the wrong guys out of the door, and that type of stuff. So it's not the end all be all, but it's a good starting process, right? So, and then college athletics is so competitive, guys at the highest level are looking for any small things to kind of separate yourselves. So doing whatever you can to making sure you're crossing all the boxes is going to be huge.
And for you, what's it take to kind of build up Ripon as a program? What has it taken in the past few years to continue to build it up?
You know, I mean, our administration's done a great job supporting us. We spent over about $30 million in the last 7 years on athletic facilities alone, so that's been huge for us. Got a brand new football stadium, brand new athletic center, so that's been awesome. You know, but it's just, like I said, continue to develop and find the right kids, you know, and like I said, we're going to have the biggest roster we've had in school history this year, so that'll be exciting. It's just like continue to kind of grow the program. We're in year 3 of our new coaching staff, so it's just, you know, time to see the kind of the fruits of the labor, so it'll be exciting.
And what's your message to students about, hey, even if it's not D1, there's a lot of good stuff out there?
Oh, there is, and whatever you're trying to do with life, you know, football can create a lot of opportunities for you. Some it's, you know, going to play after college. Some it's just getting you in the door and getting you the degree. And I've coached at scholarship level and non-scholarship levels. I've kids go on and play in the NFL, kids that go on and to be doctors and lawyers. So if you got anybody that's willing to give you an opportunity to get an education and better yourself, whether it be through football, through school, that you got to listen and at least take that opportunity. So.
And we all know nothing creates life experiences and prepares you for what life can do as opposed to battling through adversity on a football field. Thank you so much, Coach. I appreciate it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. For Coach Mike Epp, I'm Eliav Glai. We'll send it back up to the fellas up in the booth.
All right. Thanks, E. And as we are wrapping up this first session, Cody, we talked a little bit ago. We teased some recruiting. We teased some prospects that you might like, or guys that have jumped out to you throughout this process. But let's just jump into that. A couple Westwood guys I definitely want to touch base on. Sean Barkis, a guy that had 1,100 yards as a sophomore, 9 touchdowns. Coach told me he was a little bit heavier, wrestled this offseason, changed his body, has a little bit more burst now. But who else is jumping out to you on this Westwood squad?
Yeah, I like Sine Tenge. He's an edge rusher for them, but versatile. Lines up at the 5'7" and a wide 9 tech for that Westwood front. Also plays a little outside backer as well. But he dropped his top 5 about a month ago, and heck, that used to be something that kids would do all the time, Jordan.
Right.
I remember us talking recruiting in 18, 19, 20. That was like a big graphic. Now times are changed, but the schools, Utah State, BYU, Boise State, Iowa State, and the New Mexico. New Mexico also has a coach here as well. With those teams, I think one of the coolest things about his recruitment, Jordan, who did he bring on those visits? Brandon Large and his defense coordinator, Coach Litt, on some of those visits, which I think is so cool because it goes again to what kind of like the ACU coach was talking about to Eliav earlier. It said, hey, when we talk to these kids, we prioritize their Friday game film, we prioritize their grades, but also what their coaches say about them. I think that's really, really important. Here, at the end of the day, it does not matter what I say about a kid or what someone on Twitter says about a kid. What really matters is the people who know him, truly. Their head coach. They could talk about his work ethic on the field, the classroom, the weight room. So to bring those coaches on his visit, I think is really, really cool. The Boise State staff loves this kid. I think they like his ferociousness. He checks the boxes on the frame. Once again, he's versatile. A Boise State team that's been really, really dominant. And they have a young coach, man. Spencer Danielson was one of the top coaches, I think, the 35 under 35. He's all about faith, which is big for Tenge, and I just see that being – he has the top 5. I'm not saying Boise State is the runaway favorite, but it kind of speaks about the kid, right? When they're recruiting kids that are not only good on the field, but also great human beings and role models. That's what he is. That's what a lot of those Westwood juniors, going to be seniors, are in that class of 2026.
Yeah, and as we see Westwood starting to break it down here, Red Mountain already starting to get off the field. Mountain View coming in, Dobson wrapping up as well. But let's keep it with Westwood real quick. Defensively, Dax Clark, Tyler Preston, Xavier Lundy. Those were a couple names that when talking to Coach, he really wanted to highlight. Some other guys on this defense, they're returning a lot. Who are some of these other guys that jump out to you?
I think when you look at their front 7, I think they're pretty stout, especially on the defensive line part. And once again, it's high school football. You're going to lose most of your top statistic guys and stuff like that. But having some of that class of 2026 talent, is a couple of those names that you just mentioned on the defensive side of the ball, in a 6A conference where you have to stop teams. That sounds so vanilla. And those of you guys, listen to the thing going, wow, that's crazy, right? The team who has more points wins the football game. But, hey, listen, in 6A football, when you have these cross games against, especially with all the new regions, right, where you're going to play out a region game still. They have to play Basha again this year. When you're playing some of these top-end teams, to have the kids that are versatile like they do on their front seven, that can go sideline to sideline, match some speed, and not just Westwood, Red Mountain as well. You guys made a great point about, hey, there's 80-plus track kids from the football program out there. That stuff matters, man. Like that wins games in the fall. Westwood returning some of those kids on the front seven, I think, is going to be huge for them. I know they lost some kids up front, especially on the offensive line, but to revamp some experience in 6A on that front seven is going to be big.
We highlighted a couple Red Mountain guys pretty quickly, but you have a pretty wide open quarterback battle currently. You have a lot of talent in the up front, especially on the interior. They're known for running the football, that ground and pound, but they also have athletes on the outside. Just what's jumped out to you about the Mountain Lions?
They have so much young receiver talent, right? And when you think of Red Mountain receivers, a couple of years ago, right, you think of Jacoby Lane, you think of Lennox Lawson kind of playing the slot flex and also playing in the backfield for them. But it's never, like you mentioned, it's always been a really ground and pound team. We're going to run between the tackles. We're going to control the thing. Offensively, they've really opened it up the last couple of years. So they have a phenomenal offensive coordinator that does a multiple set offense, is really talented. Their young receivers that they have in the class of 2027 and the class of 2028 are so good, Jordan. They are so talented. So I think when you have that youth, plus at the quarterbacks, you mentioned the quarterback battle, Dom Carmagiano is a Chandler transfer that's coming in that's going to be a senior. I watched him play last year. This kid is a great dual threat quarterback. He can sling it. Red Mountain offensively, which has always been the story, has been their defense. Their offense is set to have another amazing season.
We got a legend on the sideline.
That's right.
Not only Eliav Gabai, we got Charlie Regal. My former vice principal, now ASU assistant head coach. Let's toss it over to E and Charlie.
That's right, Jordan Ham. I'm here with Jordan Ham's former vice principal, right? That's what we're going to call it.
That makes me old.
That makes Jordan old.
Not as old as me, though.
Oh, okay. Fair. And of course, National Football Foundation honoree. I know he's a humble one too. No, but seriously, congratulations on that, Coach. We're here. It's a beautiful Arizona day. You are no stranger to all things Arizona football. What's it like for you to be out in these showcases?
Well, I think the showcases are awesome for high school football. I think when you can get a group of teams together and then that allows all of the coaches to come to one spot and really makes it efficient, it's a win-win for everybody.
And what do you look for specifically when you're out here as far as, we've been talking a lot about green flags today.
Yeah. Well, I think first and foremost is you've done your research before you've gotten here, right? And so you kind of know the idea of who you're coming to see, what you're looking for. But we're all looking for the same thing, right? It just depends on the position and the needs that you're searching for. We don't have enough videotaping to go specifically at every position, but obviously, like I said, the biggest thing is doing your due diligence on the front end to show up and really examine, certain guys that you're looking for, relevant to your positions.
Now, for student athletes watching and maybe watching for showcases that are to come, what are certain things that advice from you to them?
Absolutely. I want to be on time, be diligent, be efficient, work, show up with the proper attire. Be into it, good body language. Those are all things, characteristics that you're looking for as a coach, right? From potential prospects is want to see them work, but hey, they're having fun while they're doing it, but they're dialed into what the coach is asking. And I think most of all, be coachable. And if you do that and work hard, we'll find the guys that we know can fit our respective levels.
Now, we've heard a lot about, and of course we hear a lot about the talent on the football field, right? But you just mentioned it, the people aspect. How crucial is that in your search?
Again, that's all of the background stuff. You can come out here and you can see guys that pass the eye test and physically can probably do what you're looking for. But then if they haven't done the things necessary in the classroom, taken the core classes, got the right GPA, or you go and you visit with their teachers and counselors and their coaches and they don't, respond and say the right things about them, then it's all for naught.
And that's what people don't understand. You're not just talking to them. You're talking to everyone around them, right?
It's a lot of research and due diligence put into these players when we're going, it's an investment. And so when you're investing in a person, there's a lot of things that, a lot of boxes that need to be checked off.
Now for the parents. I know that's the other side of this whole thing. What's some of your advice to them about being involved but not overstepping either?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, if your son truly, and your son, not you as a parent, but your son wants to play football, that has to be his decision. And then the best thing you can do is support it. You need to, you need to be hard. You need to demand excellence from him, because as he gets through high school and on to college, it's only going to get harder. And here's the thing. It's a very small percentage of kids in all of high school football that play at the Power 5 level. That's hard to attain. So that's what parents need to understand, that the Power 5, Power 4 level, whatever you want to call it, is not for everybody. But if your son is good enough and most importantly, wants to play college football, there is a spot out there for him.
All right, Coach. Now, for you, last one, you've seen more than most people. How
Are we going annex?
Arizona high school football, Arizona football in general, has grown. What does that mean to you to see that progress over the past few years?
Well, it's awesome. And when you say a few years, it's really, 25 years for me, right? Of being out here since 99 and watching this, or at least even when I moved away recruiting Arizona, sort of watch it grow and expand the way it has in the talent levels. And now as we continue to build ASU into the model that Coach Dillingham and our staff expects it to be, it's time to start turning the tables, for getting the local kids to stay home.
All right. Anything for Jordan Ham? He can hear you.
I'm going to keep that off there. He knows I love him.
Back to you, Jordan. Appreciate you, Coach. Thank you so much.
It is a live broadcast, so it's good. Charlie didn't send a message there to me. Great stuff there from Charlie Regal and Cody. As you just look at, we've talked so much about staying local. ASU has not only tried to do that with their roster, but with their coaching staff as well.
100%. And they've done such a great job. And obviously, it affected the win total, right? And I think that's where, let's be honest, right? The ASU fans, they get a little antsy at times, especially after the kind of the storm and all that they had to navigate as a fan base the last 3 to 4 years. What they were able to accomplish last year in such a quick turnaround was incredible. And granted, right, you can do that in your recruiting class, but also attack the transfer portal, which they have done really, really well. But they're just honest. Like Charlie, everybody in the state knows him. Everybody's friends with Regal. I was upset because I wanted to rip on his golf game right now, and I get the opportunity to do so. And I love the community environment they've done. Whether like the Tillman race a couple weeks ago, it is all the ASU football players are out there. It's a big community. How many open practices have we seen the Sun Devils have this spring? It was like every Friday they do that. People don't understand. That is a rarity at college football, totally. Right? All the access that we as media get, a lot of that has to do with Doug, but even more so has to do with Kenny. Kenny's okay with it, right? It's all, any press is good press for ASU. Bring everybody on. We want this to be a family. We want Sun Devil fans for the next 50 years. Everybody talks about those years in the 70s and 80s of Frank Cush and the diehard Sun Devils. They wanted to bring that back. So I think just what that staff has accomplished, not just only in the wins and losses, which is amazing as well, but in the community efforts that they've made.
All right, so the morning session has wrapped up. We have Skyline getting on the field. Mesa Mountain View already over here, as well as Mesa. Plenty of fun here the rest of the way. We're going to do a little bit of a shuffle here. In the next couple minutes, Jordan Spurgeon going to come up, take on play-by-play duties, along with Mr. Cameron. But first, we're going to throw to the annex for another interview. Jordan Spurgeon, Claudia Collins. What you got for us, guys?
Thanks, Cody and Jordan. We're here with the new AIA Executive Director, Jim Dean, taking over the reins from David Hines. So I want to start with that. What's it been like for you hitting the ground running?
Yeah, it's been outstanding, and David's been incredibly gracious in the transition, and we want to continue to honor his legacy until his last day on June 30th. But it's been fantastic, and we get to work with tremendous people statewide, athletic directors across the state who care about their kids, who care about showcasing opportunities for athletes, and so it's been fantastic.
And being here, seeing the Mesa Showcase. So I've talked about it with everybody in here so far. Every district, different schools and regions are putting together showcases. What's it like as a state to see it continue to grow and to see Mesa, pushing the boundaries a little bit with this live broadcast, great crew? I mean, What do you like?
Not to brag on ourselves, great crew.
Yeah,
But.
the crew and construction and all that stuff.
The broadcast is outstanding, and I think these showcases really provide opportunities to elevate our kids, right? And to make it easy for colleges to come to one location over multiple days to see, a great number of athletes. And so kudos to all the schools and the school districts who are putting together showcases and putting them on. We had Phoenix Union this week, and we had the West Valley yesterday out in Surprise, and Mesa today, and Chandler has them coming, Tempe Union has them coming, and just great job by those school districts. These are great events that showcase our kids, and we want to provide those opportunities for the kids and keep elevating them as we move forward.
In case you couldn't tell, showcase season is upon us. Do things get crazier for you guys this time of year with all of these extra things going on along with spring sports? I mean, we bring football back in the spring.
I think you could argue a little bit, Claudia, that football never ends.
Yeah,
right?
it sure doesn't.
It keeps going. But no, this is a great time of year for us. We're in the midst of our spring state championships right now, and our playoffs are underway, and football's kicking up, and flag football's kicking up. And as we wrap the school year up and look into the next one, it's just, again, that renewed opportunity, that renewed time for us to look ahead to the next year and the great things that will happen for our schools.
The theme for today has been opportunity. I don't think there's been one guest that hasn't used the word opportunity, and that's exactly what all this is about. When we talk about opportunity for, in your position in the AIA, that's what we're looking for these kids, right, is
Absolutely.
opportunities. So what is your message to anyone who's out on the field today looking for any kind of opportunity? What's your message?
My message is to continue to work hard. In today's age where technology allows you to showcase yourself all over the place electronically and digitally, if you work hard, you will be found by somebody. And we say to kids all the time, play as long as you can. Continue your passion and your love for as long as you possibly can. And if you work hard and you continue to elevate what you're doing, and through the opportunities that our school districts are providing as well as the AIA, you will be found and those opportunities will be given to you.
Seeing districts making upgrades, Mesa has been one of the more recent ones to have the funding to upgrade weight rooms and fields, and seeing what that does, specifically, I talked about it with Tommy earlier, it keeps Mesa kids in Mesa, and it's an open enrollment state. And of course, you're always going to want and see kids in different areas, start at different schools. But what is it like on your position when you see kids in their community go to their local high school because of upgrades and things that are being made?
Yeah, I think it's important. I think that there are aspects of high school that you can't replicate elsewhere, right? And I look back at Koa Pete's announcement to go to the University of Arizona, and one of the things that he said was he was grateful for his time in staying at Perry, right? And there are aspects of there are things that happen in high school that are life-changing, that are build just tremendous memories for you, and those are great pieces. And certainly our schools and our school districts taking the opportunity to elevate athletics and making them a priority in their systems certainly helps kids to stay home, right? I'm the former superintendent in the Dysart School District, and we made athletics a priority there, and we saw kids staying with us, longer. And so it's about meeting kids' needs. It's about meeting parent interests as we move forward in this role, and looking for ways to continue to do that to provide the best opportunities for our kids.
I'm going to look way ahead here.
Absolutely.
Way ahead. State championships, what do we want to expect for this year? Are we still thinking Sun Devil Stadium?
Absolutely,
Let's let the people know what's happening.
So we'll be at Sun Devil Stadium, and we want to, we also, we're talking about opportunities for kids, but we also want to elevate fan experience as well. And so we're looking really hard at that piece. How do we make this a great experience for our fans outside of just watching the game? And so we're really excited about that piece. We look forward to great competition. And there are some things ahead that I don't want to tease out of the bag too far, but there are some exciting things in years to come that we will see that will expand things for our kids and continue to provide those for them moving forward.
You mentioned, David Hines, and he's still the executive director till June 30th, and then you take over officially. What's it been like learning from him throughout this transition process?
It's been great working with David, and the decades of his experience educationally and with the AIA as well. He's worked with the AIA at the AIA office for 17 years, obviously as an athletic director before that, many years. But, just having the opportunity to pick his brain and to learn and to hear stories. He has great stories. His time time at Mountain View is priceless if you ever get a chance to just sit and chat with him. But David has been great about just instilling a piece here and instilling a piece there, as we move forward. And having the opportunity to work with him the last 2 years, but also previously to that, being on the executive board, it's been my honor to learn from him. And I look forward to his excitement for retirement and our journey ahead with the AIA.
And you were telling us off camera too, you've been on 5 cruises in the last 4 years. So when we talked to David a couple months ago, we asked him about retirement. What does it mean and where does he want to travel?
Yeah.
He didn't really have a plan. So are you going to tell him how awesome cruises are?
Yeah, it is. It's a great time to get away, but I'm going to tell you what David's plan is right now. David is going back into coaching. I don't think he's announced that, but he's going back into coaching. And David's plan is to coach his grandkids in their youth programs, whether it be baseball or basketball. And
awesome.
And he does a great job working with them now, and they'll benefit from that. So.
For anyone that doesn't know, I'm 4 months pregnant. So hearing that, I'm like, that is just the sweetest thing. I'm too emotional to hear that. Hey, well, for anybody that's a little bit less familiar with you, I want this to be your opportunity. It might be parents watching, things like that right now. I want people to get a chance to know you. So what do you want people to know who you are? Because you're a different person.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, everybody's a different person, right? And leadership styles are different. And the big thing that I would want people to know is that, I was a 32-year educator. I was a principal, district athletic director, assistant superintendent. My whole career has been about meeting the needs of kids and making sure that we provide them what they need to be successful. At the same time, listening to parents as well. And so the big thing that we want parents to know is that we're here. We're here to listen. We're here to take input. We're here to make sure that we know what you have to say within the scope of what we do. When I interviewed for the role, I told our executive board, we want to be about 2 things. We want to be about serving our member schools and elevating opportunities for our athletes. And so as we continue to do that, parents play a big role in that. And we want to make sure that they know that they can call us anytime, and we'll be happy to answer questions and listen to what they have to say.
Well, Dr. Jim Dean, we appreciate you taking the time to join us. It's an awesome day here at the showcase, and we look forward to seeing you around and seeing you get started.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Absolutely.
Thanks
Cody.
for jumping on.
Thank you very
You're
much.
up there somewhere, Cody. Back to you.
Well, I appreciate that, Spurge. And now it is party time. One of my favorite times because I get to talk to a good friend right here, Lake Forest head football coach Jim Catanzaro. Jordan Ham was joking with you. Hey, you're starting to pay tax here because we see you probably like 5 or 6 times a year more than any college coach in the state, which means you are rating the state of Arizona every single recruiting cycle. And I think when this started, talking about these showcases here in 2019, I remember talking to you about this, and you were saying, hey, this is going to be huge for the state of Arizona. And I've seen it not just help so many kids, but really the Lake Forest program. So to jump, just the growth of this since 2019.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing is a lot of coaches have really taken this seriously. At first, it was like it's just another practice.
Yeah.
Now you're getting the recruiting sheets that you need to have. You're getting the contact information. Coach Large today getting this going during the day. One of the things I think they saw from the Chandler Unified splitting off and doing that was coaches can go to school, and that's great, but they'd rather be at one place, see everybody there. And so now the district's taking control of it, really helping that process, streamlining it, making it more efficient. For me, it's great because we continue to raid the state, as you said. We got 24 guys in this year's recruiting class from Arizona. We'll have over 50 on the roster next year. Huge for us, and it exposes us to some schools you can't get to, because if you're driving school to school every day, you might get to 6 schools a day. Yeah. In this situation, now you're getting a chance to see these guys actually move around. You might find a kid you didn't know about. This first session, I saw 2 kids I had no clue about until today, and I'm watching them out there in their indie drills. I'm like, that looks like a player. Going to find the coach. Hey, tell me about this kid. Does he have the grades? Does he have all those things? Having somebody in space while they're moving, getting a chance to evaluate them, that's huge.
Let's throw it back about 7 years now. One of the first times I really got to know you, 2018, you held a recruiting fair at a hotel south of the 202 in Chandler.
Yep.
Was it the Drury Inn? Is that
No, it's like San Marcos.
Yes, right there. And so you brought in, I think it was like 50 Arizona high school football players that were current seniors, maybe some juniors there. A guy by the name of A.J. Jackson, who's fared pretty darn well for you here in Lake Forest. And I just remember him talking there and him asking the questions that had nothing to do with football, but going, hey, Coach, what's the school like? And you were talking about the class sizes and the opportunities, not just while you're a student there, but internships and stuff. What makes Lake Forest so special? Because you've been a head coach now there for a million years, but what makes you guys so special as a university and as a football program?
Yeah, I think from the college perspective, our internship program's been ranked in the top 15 in the country for over 10 years. Our job placement rate, everybody talks about those job placement rates. We're at about 99% over the last 5 years. Guys come up there, they get experiences. We actually take out of their academic credits so that they have internships. It's required to have experiential learning to graduate, but they can replace a class with an internship up to 3 times during their time on campus. Those experiences being in the greater Chicagoland area are very prevalent. We don't have a major university population like you do here in Phoenix, where you got ASU, it's got 70,000 students, and Grand Canyon, it's got another 30,000. In Chicago, the biggest school we have is Northwestern. They only have 9,000 students undergraduate. So the small schools like us are the norm, and we can take advantage of those relationships and create opportunities for our students and our athletes. From a football perspective, that consistency, I think, is one of the biggest things for us. I haven't been there quite a million years, but I am going into year 20. And I think that consistency also helps with recruiting. When I go walk into an Arizona high school and, Coach Zupke sees me, it's the same guy. It's not a new coach. When I go to, see Coach McDonald down at Bash, it's the same coach. And so I think that experience, them seeing me take guys up there, help them graduate, get onto their experiences, then hearing their stories makes great anecdotal evidence, but also they can still look at what the success on the field. A guy like AJ, who was a 4-time All-American for us and broke all kinds of records nationally and at our school. And, they see those experiences where we held true to what we said we were going to do. And I think that gives them confidence sending more people up to us.
And I've been covering the state now for about 7-8 years. And what I love about Arizona high school football, some of the names you just mentioned, Dana Zupke, a Chris McDonald, a Jason Jewell, Bobby Newcomb. I mean, every head coach over here is a great individual. He's a maker of men, great role models in the state of Arizona. And that leads me to my next question. You love Arizona high school football talent. The question is why? Is it the coaches? Is it the players? Is it the schools? Is it, hey, they have an understanding of work ethic? What's your why about recruiting the state so hard?
That's a long list, to be honest with you. But the honest evaluations we get from the coaches, they're not going to mislead us. If the guy doesn't love football and is going to have problems going away to school, they're going to let us know that. They're not going to lie just to push a kid out. I also think they respect the game. You see the hard work that gets put in. I mean, you're out here in May, and these guys are going through practices. When you go to a lot of other states in the Midwest, they're not allowed to have football practice until the summer. And so they haven't touched a football, been with their coaches since, November of last year. These guys just get a ton more reps at the sport, and they do things better. The weather helps, right? It's a little tough to go out in the middle of February in Chicago, but these guys are out here getting work in and taking those next steps, and they have a hunger to play at the next level. I also think there's a similarity, and this is not meant to be a total knock on Division I football, but Division I football has become very transactional. Whether it's the portal, whether it's the NIL deals, what can you do for me?
It's
what can
free
I do for
agency.
you?
It's free agency completely.
And for us, it's still about that transformational experience, taking them from that 18-year-old college freshman to a 22-year-old senior, taking the next steps that are going to make them great husbands and wives. It's the same basis that these coaches have set their foundation for. I talked to a guy like Jeremy Hathcock, or I talked to Andy Litton that are out there right now. Those guys are trying to develop people and give them a start in life that's a little bit different at 18 than maybe they would have had otherwise if they didn't play football. We want to continue that path. I always tell the parents, it's kind of one of my joke lines, that if your kid screws up in the first 2 months on campus, that's on you. You had them for 18 years. If it's the second or third year, maybe I had something to do with it. But we got to make sure that where they were raised, that starting point, we take that as a stepping stone, not a stumbling block, to get them moving forward.
Question I get asked all the time, which means the coaches are getting asked 20 times more, is how does our kid get recruited? And that's something me and you have always talked about throughout the years. And maybe so some stuff has changed, but really like the pinnacle and core of it has not. Something like this. What are you looking for in a prospect, not just here, but throughout his high school career, where he goes, this is a good fit for Lake Forest?
Well, let's start with the guys in their freshmen. You got to get good grades. Every 2 points on your GPA, so going from a 2.0 to a 2.2, 2.4 to 2.6, opens up about another 10% of schools that you can now get into. When you get above a 3.0, it basically opens up about 60% of the colleges in the country for you to now be able to attend. If you can't get into the school, you can't get recruited, and I think that's a big one. The second thing is, do they have tape? We want to see their tape. There are some measurable things. I think at our level, we're a little less inclined to say, oh, he's not 6'3", we're not going to take him. We'll take the 6 foot, the 5'10" guy, whatever it is, as long as they can play football on film. So they got to have their cut-ups, make great cut-up tapes, put them on social media so we can find it easily. Football's still that rare thing that's still using Twitter. We haven't moved to Instagram, we haven't moved to Snapchat, so Twitter matters for football recruiting. Whereas if you're a women's soccer player, it's on Instagram with most programs. So having that social media presence so you can be found, and then just being a good guy that lets his head coach in high school know, I want to play college football. And if your high school coach doesn't know you're going to play, you want to play, he can't promote you the same way as the guy he does know. Again, that part where they love football? Yeah. Do they really want to go halfway across the country? Because the state of Arizona is a little bit limited in options. You've got 5 schools in the state that play 4-year college football. Other than that, you got to go somewhere. It's that if 100-man roster, that's only 500 kids over a 4-year window. They got to go somewhere else. Yeah. And that's where we've really been able to be a great advantage and a great resource for people.
So talking to a lot of college coaches here the last couple months, what's been interesting for me to hear is them talking about the kids' parents and red flags with the parents. And it's what's interesting about it is, it's a conversation that's happened, but now with Twitter and X and social media where, heck, there's some helicopter parents out here that just attack head coaches and just kind of crowd it. I was talking to college coaches that said, hey, we want to know about the kid, but we want to know what we're dealing with on the parents' side as well, because when you get to that point, there's no calling you and going, Coach Catanzaro, you got to start my kid. He deserves, right? That doesn't, exactly,
No.
is out. And it's obviously, high school coaches don't want to deal with it, especially you guys, but you get to know the families. Like, you go in those rooms, and every single kid you want to recruit, you get to know the kid at the high school level, but also at the family level, but also those parents. How much of a red flag, or how do red flags play any part in the recruiting of the player?
Absolutely. There are things that we look for. If you come on an official visit, or I'm in the living room with you and doing a home visit, and you're bashing your head coach, one, I probably know that guy. He recommended your son for me. I wouldn't be here recruiting him if not. Yeah. And that becomes a pattern of behavior that we expect to continue. Mm-hmm. Now you're going to be at our place doing the same thing because your son's not getting enough reps, not getting enough playing time, whatever it might be. That's not something we want to bring into the program. The second part is it really puts a contradiction in the player's head. If mom and dad are telling the player he's the greatest thing in the world, and as a coach, you need to really improve in these areas. I get it. You've seen his highlight videos because you've seen him every step along the way grow. You've seen the growth. All I can evaluate is where he's at right now and where he's been in our program. You have to understand that my job as a coach is to make that young man get better as football and to be better as a man. Your job as a parent is to be his cheerleader, not to worry about the coaching part. So as I have loyalty to 110 players on the roster and you have a loyalty to one, that can sometimes come in conflict. What's best for the team may not be best for the individual, and we have to have those conversations. But if parents can understand that in the recruiting process, things go really smooth and really well when they come to campus. If they don't, we've been known to cut a guy from the process if we think that that's going to be too big of a headache for us.
Trust this man right here. Put your trust into him and let your player be a player. Let him grow up on his own. Let's pivot here. The 2025 fall season, the upcoming football season. You guys are doing something really, really special, something I haven't seen a team do that. And I know you've been trying to put this together, 3, 4, 5 years now, and it is monstrous. So I'm going to give you the platform. Week 2? Is that what it is?
It's week one for us. Week 1 for us.
Take it away.
Yeah, so September 6th, we want to have everybody come out. There's going to be a historic moment here in the state of Arizona, the first college football game between 2 Division III teams. So we've been fortunate. You're right. We tried to do this before. We had a contract with Whittier College, and then they dropped their football program, so we had to cancel that one. And but we have Claremont Mudscripts out of California coming down to play us. It's a home game for us. We're going to play it at Hamilton High School at 6 o'clock at night on September 6th. It's going to be a great opportunity. It's something that to me is really important because it's going to showcase the entire community. We're bringing marching bands from one school. We're bringing dance teams and cheerleaders from different schools, the anthem singers, the ROTCs. But we're not going to bring all those people with us, so we're going to use local talent for that to be a showcase for them. We're providing free tickets to any youth football player from the Pop Warner JFL type levels. And we just want to make sure that it's an experience where people get to see this. For us, it's a homecoming game for us. 52 of our players are going to be coming down home, playing in front of friends and family who maybe never get to make the trip out to Chicago to see them play. And we could not be more excited about it. Chandler Unified School District's been great partners with us, but really excited about this event. It's something we've been trying to put forward for a while, like you said, and I'm excited to finally get to do it.
And that stuff matters because, one, on a marketing level at the program, but two, the homecoming for the kids. Because, heck, how many times does a kid go to a school and maybe he misses it, maybe misses his hometown a little bit, bringing them back in, marketing the program. But another reason, there's so many programs that say they recruit the state of Arizona. They might have, 4 to 5 kids on the program, which is solid.
Yeah.
50 plus on the Lake Forest football roster. That's putting your money where your mouth is there. So, Coach, it's been amazing. Enjoy the rest of your time.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate
Thanks so
you
much.
a ton. As we head back into the showcase here, 3 teams, new wave, absolutely amazing, and Mountain View, Skyline, and Mesa High School, the next phase. I got to shout out our production staff here. They have done an amazing job. My guy Max is next to me. He's crushing it. All the camera crew, amazing. We got double-digit college coaches out there on the field as we enter phase 2 of the Mesa Public Schools college football spring showcase. Brady Goodman on site. The Mountain View Gunslinger class of 2026. Big baseball playoff game. Let's see what we hear. Oh, I have to mention camp. Lake Forest plug all day. Coach, tell me if I'm wrong. May 17th? May 17th, Lake Forest camp. Go to his Twitter. Coach Catanzaro, who is amazing right now. LFC. What we got? Here we go. God, you'd think I know this by heart now. We got his Twitter, because he just posted it yesterday. LFC_football. Jim Catanzaro's Twitter. Make sure you go on there. May 17th, their camp. If you're a class of 2026, class of 2027, you have to sign up for this. It's $60. There's going to be 60+ college coaches in attendance recruiting the student athlete. It does not get better than that. That is the premier mega camp in the state of Arizona. There's still time to sign up, too. You got 2 weeks until that is May 17th. Jim Catanzaro, LFC_football. Sign up for that camp if you're a 2026 player or 2027. I know most of the recruiting class, kids that they've landed in the state of Arizona from all those schools, it's like somewhere like 70 to 80% went to that camp. So that camp matters. They're able to, put a name to the film they're watching. Like Coach said, they could see how you move laterally. It is not a combine either. You're not running the 40. You're not long jumping, okay? You're going through football-esque drills in front of 60 college coaches. It's a huge win-win. The first start is having something like this, though. These college showcases that we're having here at Westwood High School, the Mesa Public Schools Spring Football Showcase, absolutely amazing. Jam-packed as we enter session 2. And joining me is actually going to be the play-by-play for this. And he's already, you guys already know him. Jordan Spurgeon coming in. Jordan, I was listening to you as I was driving in here, and you and Jordan Ham crushed it. So I probably dipped on talent just a little bit, me stepping in the booth. But now we get to bring it back up, man. How are you?
Yeah, I think the knowledge goes up a little bit when Cody Cameron steps in. But, doing good. This is fun, man. Getting to talk to all kinds of people and watch all this. This is super exciting. So I'm excited for session 2 to get rolling.
And we're going to head down to the sideline as Eliav has an interview on the track. Eliav, take it away.
Hey, thank you, guys. A familiar face for Arizona football fans, defensive coordinator Danny Gonzalez. First off, before we get to all the fun back here, there's a lot of fun in Tucson with the Extraordinary Cats. For those who don't know, what's that all about?
So Extraordinary Cats is a camp for individuals with a disability. Our 11-year-old Abby has Down syndrome, and we have been on the mission of making it total inclusion for her life. We want her in a gen ed classroom, which she has been her entire time, around typical peers, because they're going to learn as much from her as she learns from them. And when I was at San Diego State as the defense coordinator, my wife had seen Ed McCaffrey do a camp with his son Christian for individuals with Down syndrome, and she was like, we need to do this. And I said, hey, if I'm ever a head coach, then we'll start one. And I had the opportunity in New Mexico, so we got it started there. It was Extraordinary Lobos. Coach Brennan was awesome when we brought it up about continuing this camp on, and we did Extraordinary Cats down in Tucson. We had 67 registered individuals last night. It was fantastic. The opportunity for them to get out there and be with our football players is fantastic for them and for those kids. So it was great.
And could you feel the love that they were getting and that they could feel it themselves from the community?
Absolutely. You know what? It brings out personality in those kids. Not very many times do they get that opportunity where somebody's cheering them on like that in that atmosphere in a football stadium or in the indoor facility. So see their personalities come out makes the event totally worth it.
And what did it mean to see your players interact and see them too?
I think the best part was their last day of anything being required was on Monday. They're done with their academics. I told them the camp was going to be on Tuesday, May 6th. I would love everybody to be there because it's an experience that they won't forget. They were all there. We had 2 guys. One had the graduation back at Alcorn State, and another one had a funeral that he had to attend. The entire football team was there, which meant a lot to me because obviously that's near and dear to my heart. And they were fantastic last night. They did a great job. Both the kids and our players did.
And what does it do also for camaraderie?
So they have a little bit of an advantage. Abby is around my girls. Abby and Chloe. I have a 12-year-old also. And then I have 2 boys, 26 and 24, Cole and Jake. But the girls, they're always around the football program. They're always around the team. So everybody gets comfortable with Abby. And oftentimes you see somebody that might look a little bit different or has a different ability, and you don't know how to respond. Well, it's made it very simple for our kids. I mean, they're just like us. There's no difference. They're more alike than different. And just because they have a disability doesn't mean it defines them. It's just a piece of who they are. And so our kids get to see that with Abby every day. So I thought they did a fantastic job just welcoming those people in, realizing that there's nothing different. They're more alike than different. We can't say that enough.
To many more years of that, Coach. That's awesome. That is awesome. Now, we are here at Westwood, another beautiful day in Arizona. A friend of you people thinking about recruiting or coming to Arizona, right? This is the place to be, especially any time of year. Now, specifically, what do you look for when you're out here and there's so much going on?
The best part is you get to see how they interact. They don't know. I mean, they know you're watching them, but they don't know every single moment who's watching who. And you get to see them interact with their coaches. You get to see them interact with their teammates. And that's probably more important than anything. Now, they have to have enough ability. That doesn't matter. The ability, football is going to be football. But the intangibles, what you want to bring to your program, is a great opportunity to evaluate here. Thank you, Westwood, for hosting this today. We got a bunch of schools here. We have 2 Division I, or really 3 within AU Division I programs in this state. And we need to keep the best Arizona football players in this state. Now, we would love to have them all in Tucson. But I was at that other place for a while, and it was great to me. And I think Coach Dillingham's doing a fantastic job. I'm excited for the Arizona football players that they have an opportunity to be in front of. There's a ton of coaches out here today. This is it's a beautiful day, like you said. This is amazing.
And I know Wildcat Nation doesn't want to bring up those other years at that other school in ASU, of course. But going from those years to this year, I mean, even just those few years right there, how have you seen the sport grow and the talent grow around here?
Well, the talent is simply becoming top notch across the country in Arizona. You're getting every university now is coming to the state of Arizona to try and steal their best football players out here, and we got to keep them here. Yeah. Between the 3 schools here, we need to keep them in Arizona. My time at ASU, I would never say anything about Arizona State. It was great to me and my family. I was big on the anti-200 when the University of Arizona was trying to keep normal Tempe school from being a university, and I was proud when in 1958 when all that stuff happened. Now I'm on the other side. I might have to wear a shirt that says anti-200. Who knows? You know, we'll continue to have fun with it. But this is a great state. Both communities are outstanding, and there's a ton of good football players. We just need to keep them home.
Now, what's that challenge like when you know, okay, now all the rest of the country is noticing? What's the challenge of trying to keep them at home?
Honestly, the worst part is money. I mean, these kids are getting money now. They're getting real money. And so trying to remind them, keep the main thing. The development, the college degree is still the most important piece of this, because football is going to end when football ends on football's terms. If you're lucky and you play in the NFL for 10 years, that's still only 0.2% of college football players that make it there. So they have a little opportunity to make some money right now that can work for them for the rest of their lives, but don't make it about that. Don't make a decision. Don't make it about the development, the main thing, and everything will take care of itself.
Now, your best advice to the other side of this whole thing, the parents, right? What is your advice to them as they watch? And this is really educational. We want them to learn as these showcases continue.
So the parents need to continue having their kids' best interest at heart. Parents shouldn't get lost in the money either. They have done everything for the first 17, 18 years of their lives in the best interest of their kids. So they don't need to listen to the outside noise. They're going to get recruited the same with or without agents. They're going to get recruited the same they did before. So trust their instincts, take care of their kids, and everything will be fine. Don't listen to the outside noise. The college recruiters are the same that they've been for the last 100 years of college football. Keep the main thing, education. And this is the time in the ones that are getting recruited by multiple schools, they have power in the decision they make. Lay all the things out, decide what's best for them, and there are no wrong choices. When they're done with this, the choice is you hope they pick you. Right now, they get to pick. So take advantage of that power and take advantage of the time, lay everything out, and make the right choice for your son.
You mentioned NIL. Of course, the transfer portal is booming these days. On the other side of that, though, how does it open up the opportunity to bring those Arizonans home as well?
It does. Anybody that goes away and always realizes that maybe it wasn't the right spot for them, it opens up the opportunity for them to come back, which they didn't have before. We're going to remain a developmental football program and take 18 to 20 freshmen, high school freshmen every year. which is not a common place right now in college football. But I think it suits the developmental piece of our program significantly better. Now, the other piece is be willing to fight adversity. Not everybody's going to play as true freshmen, and earn your way to get on that field, because being in a single place for a tenure is going to be so much better in the long run than going from school to school to school to school. You need to find stability, and then the most important thing is people. Find the people you're going to be around, trust them, and then develop.
And it's like a resume too, right? If you're leaving from job to job to job, it doesn't look great either. If you stay there for a long time, then it looks different. How does that kind of mentality go into what you're telling them?
It goes great until somebody throws $500,000 in their face. So you've got to keep the main thing the main thing. And now sometimes there's so much money thrown at you, you need to do that, because people don't realize when these kids are done playing college football and that money's gone, they're hoping to get a job starting at $50,000, $60,000 a year, when they've been used to making $250,000, $300,000 for some of these players. So sometimes the money's just so silly that they have no choice. They need to. But if you can keep the main thing, get the degree and develop, most of the time the story is going to end where it ends, in a good positive note.
Absolutely. And for you and Coach Brennan, why was it so important to focus on the development, to keep those high school graduates coming in?
I think in both our backgrounds, that's where we've been good. We've been best at developing. When we were at San Diego State, we were 8-1 against Power 5 schools because we had better players by the time they were juniors and seniors. And so developing those kids, and I think we've got a culture right now. I mean, we didn't lose anybody in the portal. That speaks volumes, because when people are throwing money at people and they want to stay with the culture, with what you're building, I mean, they believe in what we're doing, so we can keep those 18 to 20 freshmen every year and build solid classes, and then use the transfer portal to fill in holes that we might need from injury or somebody leaving. And if we can keep that culture, the developmental piece, that's why it's important in our program, because it's what we've been good at.
Now, last one for you, Coach. As these seniors go into this final year with everything, like you said, the money, the recruiting, everything coming at them, what's some of your best advice as they go into this final year of high school?
Listen to their coaches and their parents. Don't listen to the outside noise. Stay off social media and all those. Even people are talking wonderful about you, everybody wants to be patted on the back. It's the ones that don't need all that stuff that become the great success. Compete in everything you do. If it's freaking getting up and making your bed in the morning, compete. Be the best at it. And then all those things will lead you to be success later.
Coach Gonzalez, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. Of course, of course. All right, we'll send it back to you in the booth. And there we go, bear down from Coach.
Eliav, great job there with Danny Gonzalez. Excellent stuff, being able to see what he's doing on there. And we're here, Cody. Cody Cameron, Jordan Spurgeon, session 2 now at the Mesa Public Schools Showcase. We've got so many great guys out on the field right now. You know, we see Mountain View. They were throwing some deep balls, and you got Skyline out here, and there's just a lot going on right now. It's an exciting time.
Yeah, it's awesome. And something that I didn't even, we talked about it in the pre-production, but I envisioned how successful, all the interviews we're doing and the college coaches that we have been able to interview, that our team and Eliav down there has done such a great job. The advice that they're giving is awesome, because we can be blue in the face, and a lot of these high school coaches who preach this every single day, it's sometimes, right, it just becomes one ear out the other for some of these people. Like, people watching this, and whether that's live or you're going to watch this later down the road because this can be archived, listen to the advice that these college coaches are giving, because it's a lot of the same stuff that these high school coaches are preaching, saying, hey, character, you have to have good character. Are you a good leader? Are you good in the classroom? Stuff that they reiterate every single day. To hear it from those college coaches, which frankly, a lot of times, when does a parent get to talk to Danny Gonzalez? Probably never, right? Charlie Regal, maybe you might have an opportunity at some of the stuff he's at because he is in Tempe, but a lot of times you're not talking to him. Tim Roshman, same thing at NAU, unless you go to Flagstaff talking to him directly, having that opportunity, you might not ever know. So them publicly saying, hey, this is what we look for. These are red flags. This is how you can be important. Understanding, right? You're still the 1% that goes and plays at those levels. But those are the exact same thing. The D2 coaches, D3 coaches, the NAIA coaches, the people that are out here recruiting in person are talking about. So, and this is what this is all about. Not just for me to ramble on, but for the kids to have an opportunity. So it's an amazing, amazing time.
We heard it earlier before we sent it on down to our next interview. This is step 1 to being recruited. If you're a Power 4 guy, you've already been recruited. These are maybe an added bonus. But for everybody else that wants to play college at these smaller schools or anywhere else that's under the radar, this is step 1. What's awesome about this broadcast, not to toot our own horn, is the fact that there is so much insight. So parents, if you're watching your kids and you're seeing them compete in drills, I'm glad we're showing the drills. But I hope that you, and I hope you show your kids later, can see these conversations these coaches are having. It's a learning moment for everybody that is tuning in, and I think that is one of the most powerful things of these showcases. It's great, like I've said before, it's great for these coaches to get to know other coaches. It's great for these players to get to know some of these college coaches and learn from them. You might not be going to Arizona Christian University, but if you can hear what he had to say and it helps you in your recruitment somewhere else, amazing. You're not going to Arizona State most likely, but you get to hear from Charlie Ragle talk about that, or Danny Gonzalez at U of A. That's incredible. That's stuff that you can really take to heart and use to get you to the right fit, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. But that's enough rambling on here. We've got so much action going on in the field, but I hear that Claudia Collins and Jordan Ham, who replaced Jordan Spurgeon, that's me, is down in the annex, and they've got a great interview coming up. What you got, guys?
Confused watching. We have two Jordans now with Jordan Ham here. We've also got Coach Brandon Large from Westwood High School with us now. Coach, we're on your home grounds right now.
Yep.
And I said before we, went live, your field is beautiful. You walk out here, it just kind of like hits you right in the face, bright orange, bright blue. What's it like having this showcase here on your turf?
It's an honor. Our district AD asked me to try and organize something for us, and for us, it's a great opportunity for our kids to get noticed and to kind of put us out there, and for all the rest of the Mesa Public Schools to do the same. So.
And we were talking about the facilities themselves. You guys are getting a lot of upgrades. That's been the trend here in the Mesa School District, too. A lot of these schools getting upgrades, a lot of much needed upgrades, but also does a lot for the mental side of things. Yeah. Like, it's cool to play on a field you really love, and you're getting a new locker room, it sounds like. So what do these upgrades mean for your team and just the mentality of what you're playing on?
I mean, I think it brings a big sense of pride to have new things and updated things that the players can really take pride in, and something that's really nice. Like, these guys put a lot of time and effort into working on their craft and to becoming good players, and to have the facilities match like the effort that these guys are putting in is awesome.
What was it like just going through this process for a lot of these players? Obviously, they're going to be in front of college coaches, hoping they have conversations after, but just the fact that they're able to showcase what they can do, how does that help them when the bright lights pop on Friday nights and in the fall, that being in some pressure situations can help them? Yeah, definitely. Anytime that we've had college coaches at practices, and anytime that there's people here watching or there's cameras on, we tell these guys, like, it's go time. Like, you guys can't take reps off. You can't slack. Like, everybody's watching, and all eyes are on you. And so kind of putting that pressure on them is definitely going to help them when it comes to the season. And then just kind of building confidence, right? Like, these guys are out here, they're out in front of college coaches. They start to gain some confidence, and they feel like, hey, this is what I'm meant to do. I can do this.
You're 7 days into spring football. This time of year, we're having gorgeous weather, but it's really the time of year where you kind of start putting pieces together, what the fall might look like for you. Yeah. What are you learning about your teams, or what have you learned about your team in the last 7 days? We have a ton of kids out, which is awesome. So there's excitement around our program, and people are coming out. So we're just trying to build on it every day and just keep getting better and better. We knew coming into this year that we have a lot of pieces returning on defense. We bring back some key contributors on offense, a quarterback, a running back, several linemen, tight end, receivers. We feel good about the guys that we have coming back. And then our younger guys, our freshman class was really, really good this year. And so we're just trying to stack good class after good class and keep moving this thing in the right direction. You've talked about the continuity that you've now been able to have. This group, these seniors have had you for 4 years. Yeah. Just how important is that? Obviously the time, the familiarity, but just being able to instill this vision, this culture that you're trying to build from the very beginning all the way to the end of their high school careers. I think a big part of that is trust, right? And when they know that, hey, we're here, we're going to be here, we're here every day, like, we're not going anywhere. These kids trust in what we're doing, and they're willing to do anything that you ask them to do. So I think that's a big part of it, right? When you have continuity and you have coaches returning, I think it just builds trust. And trust is a hard thing for young kids at times, right? And so if they see us every day and they know, like, hey, coach is going to make a mistake, but he's going to own it, just like I'm going to make a mistake, I got to own it, and I'm going to trust that, we're all doing this and we're all working together to kind of put our best foot forward. I'm going to plug Bleacher Talk here for a second, because I did a story last year on the large family impact, because you've got a lot of family ties here. You're back on your old stomping grounds. You're, invested in this program. Yep. You've got family members on staff. I know your wife is also the cheerleading head coach, so it's really like, how many more large family members could you have here?
Well, we just added another one, actually.
Okay.
Our JV O-line coach is my cousin's husband. So my first cousin's husband. But yeah, my wife is coaching here. Our offensive coordinator is my cousin, my first cousin. And then our defensive coordinator is my brother-in-law. So I think, again, that comes with a lot of trust, right? And you don't have to, worry about, hey, is my defensive coordinator going to do his job? Like, he's going to do his job because he knows that I'm relying on him, right? And same thing with our offensive coordinator, same thing with everybody, right? Like, you want to build that trust so that guys know that I can trust that guy's gonna coach his guys up and make sure that they're ready to go.
And even on this current roster, you were telling me the how deep the family ties go. That there's even a group whose what is it, great grandfather used to own this land.
Yeah, so there's a group of 5 boys in the program: Preston Atwood, Preston Levitt, Varus Carling, Brody Workman, and Ben Atwood. That their great grandfather's name was Preston Dees. He owned all of this land that Westwood sits on. So it's kind of a cool story there too.
Yeah.
What does that do for the buy-in for these guys? Because, I mean, we've been talking a lot about how Arizona is an open enrollment state. There's a lot of movement between high schools, which is great in some ways, but it's also really cool to see a program begin to thrive, or the programs here in the Mesa School District thriving because they're really invested in, playing in their backyard. What do you think that does for Westwood's program?
I mean, I think that's huge for us. We're not the type of school that's going to get a ton of kids transferring in, but what I do is I try and take pride in the kids that we have in this community and trying to build them. I know you came out, we did a story on our flag football league, but I just really want to just, dive all in with the kids that we have here and develop them and make them the best that they can be.
Now he's the one plugging Bleacher Talk. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
But that's truly been a trend with Mesa. I came out with a story idea of, good things happening in the community, and I'm getting calls and emails left and right from the Mesa School District, and Westwood's always doing amazing things, and I think it is exactly that. Everybody is just bought into this community and wants to give back to it. So it's a really good representation that you guys really are actually doing that. You don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk.
Yeah, and in the world of transfers and stuff like that, like I try and really take pride in the guys that we have here and love them up so that they know, like, hey, I'm not going anywhere else. Like, this is where I want to be. This is, Coach Large is who I want to play for. And so you just love them up and again, just keep building that trust with them. So
one guy that jumped out to me was Spencer Blotter.
Yeah.
And the story that you told me about how he was a quarterback.
Yep.
But why did you end up moving him to safety?
So Spencer, he was in our feeder system. When I first got here, he was an eighth grader. And so he played in our youth tackle organization, and he was a quarterback, and he was really good at it. Very athletic kid that could throw, he could run around and do a lot of things. And as a freshman, he was our starting quarterback. And again, very athletic. He played some defense as a freshman, but when you're the starting quarterback, it's hard to, risk putting him out there on defense with the chance that he could get injured, but he was always chomping at the bit to be out there and wants to hit people. And as a quarterback and a runner, like, you always try and tell, give them a wiggle, right? Like, try and get to their side so that you're not taking square hits all the time. But he refused to do that. He was just like hunting people out there as a quarterback, running the ball. And so we knew, that he was a little bit further behind as a quarterback than the guy that we thought was going to be the starter for us. And so we decided as a program that it was going to be best for him to switch over to safety because we needed a safety, and he did great, and he's made great strides there, and he's going to be a really good player for us in the next 2 years.
Sounds like a natural fit for the position.
Right.
Yeah.
Can't turn off the safety mentality.
Yeah.
Hey, well, I want to give this as an opportunity. Like, who are some of the other younger guys that you've kind of seen growing in this program that, you think, someone like Jordy and I should be looking at this season and maybe break out a little bit?
Yeah, so our freshman class is really good. We have a really good group of kids. A lot of people know about, Cine and Dax and Dallin and Preston and those guys that are, returning starters and have had huge roles for us the last couple of years. Everybody knows about them, but these incoming freshman kids, there's some some guys that are going to turn some heads. A kid named Xavier Lundy. He's a linebacker. He played running back and linebacker. And last year as a freshman, he started in 2 games for us at the end of the year when we had a couple of injuries. And he's a guy that is high motor. He has really developed. Talk about a kid that, you know, as a 7th grader, I went down to the junior high and I coached him. And he was a loose cannon. Right, if I'm being honest, like he was all over the place as a 7th grade kid, and just to see his maturity change and to see his work and like his commitment level, he's a guy that like when you ask the freshman kids, hey, who do you think is the best kid on this team? Xavier Lundy, and then you ask him, okay, why do you think that is? Well, he's here every single day. He never misses. He rides the city bus to get to practice every day. Like his commitment level is incredible. So he's a guy in that class. Another kid named Ben Atwood, who will be he'll be a full-time starter for us this year at receiver. He's the younger brother of Preston Atwood, and they're part of that group of 5 boys that have deep roots here. But Ben's a stud. He's an outside receiver. He's going to be really, really good. Again, a kid that as a 7th grader, you know, he's always been super locked in and super focused on what he wants. And so it's no shock that he's in the position that he's going to be in, but he's going to turn some heads this year. He's put on some really good weight. He's gotten faster. He's more physical. He's going to be a big, strong, athletic kid. There's some others in that class too. Henry Cray is an outside receiver. Paris Crowder is an outside receiver. Travion Steele is a corner who's going to be really good for us. Yeah, so there's a bunch in that freshman class that are going to be very, very good players.
Last one for me. You mentioned the maturity jump that some of these players have to make. How much of that is just becoming a man? How much of that is things you're trying to help expedite that maturity and that buy-in, you know, throughout their high school career?
We talk a lot to our guys about like, there's going to be a spotlight on you throughout your whole entire high school career, being an athlete, and then most importantly, being a football player. You're going to have a spotlight on you. And so you can't do immature things. And so I think it's like us preaching it is a big part of it. And then as kids get older, like they don't make the same silly decisions that they make in junior high and as a freshman in high school. So they just kind of start to, you know, mellow out, I guess, as you go. But yeah, those guys have done a really good job of that. So I forgot to mention, there's another one who's a 2028 quarterback, Gavin Gleave. Since I've been here, I do quarterback training all off season. We go to football camp. Like Gavin is a guy who is a 7th grader. Like when we do our quarterback training in our youth camps, Gavin's never missed a quarterback training session. He's a guy that is like super committed to be the best player that he can be. And it's showing, like he's really developing as a quarterback. He's always had a very strong arm, a live arm. He's a little squirrely at times, but he's a freshman. And so his maturity has grown, and we're expecting really big things out of him in the future too. So
that's awesome.
Thinking about myself in 7th grade, like I did not know what my future looked like. I'm impressed hearing all of these stories where they're already so dedicated at that young of an age. All right, before we send it to Cody and Spurge, just the last question. What is Westwood's motto for this fall?
We use the Character Matter curriculum here, and the motto for this year is the difference, right? So we were 5-5 last year, and we missed the playoffs by 1 game, right? And so we're going to preach to our guys like, what's the difference between that and getting into the playoffs? What's the difference between that and making a run in the playoffs, right? And what's the difference between touching the line and stopping 2 inches short of the line, right? Like, and I think there's so many things that can be tied into that motto. And so we're going to try and run with that one this year. So
thanks for joining us, Coach. We'll send it back to Cody and Spurge.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Claudia Jordy, great job there with Coach Large. Excellent learning about the Westwood program. They've done such a good job putting this showcase on, hosting it here. Brand new field that we love out here at Westwood. Like we said before, all the Mesa schools have gotten so many new facilities, and it's great to see the investment paying off, see all these kids most of them from the Mesa community, staying here and competing with their guys. So Cody, right now, out down on the field, we saw Brady Goodman at Mountain View during that interview throwing. It looked like every eyeball from college coaches and scouts was on him, and even players kind of sitting around there. So we got a chance to see him. Now we see Skyline out there doing their thing. What's this like for you?
Well, like you said, if we have 20 college coaches out there, that's just my guess, maybe 20, 25, 30, every single set of eyes was on Brady Goodman. And just yesterday, Brady Goodman and the Mountain View Toros baseball team had a huge upset victory over the Hamilton Huskies in the 6A state postseason playoffs. And Brady Goodman, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I believe he knocked in 3 or 4 runs. And another former football player, I'll say Mountain View Toro alum now, he's headed to Cal to play linebacker for the Bears, Beckham Barney, also drove in the other run. And so kind of goes back to what you and Jordan Ham were speaking about at the start of this, about us promoting multi-sport athletes. That stuff matters, even at a quarterback position where, yeah, you're looking at so many different things that categorize football only. If you were to say, hey, this guy's also a stud first baseman on the baseball diamond. Hey, let's go to Dom Camargiano for Red Mountain. He had a tremendous track season, ran like an 11.4 100-meter dash, also jumped. That stuff matters. Why? It makes you a better athlete. So when these college coaches are out here today, when they're out there with the Lake Forest camp where there's 60 college coaches in person recruiting in person, when they're looking at your resume and they're looking at what you've accomplished and what you've done, that multi-sport facet on there will set you ahead of someone who's only played one sport. And so granted, Brady is a tremendous quarterback, and those eyes are on him out here, and deservedly so, because he has done textbook what you just need to do as a prospect in the classroom and outside the non-football season. And it's been really, really cool to see.
And really, to stick with Brady there, he's kind of, the poster child of how this works. Incredible season last year. Without that injury, potentially a 6A champion. I'm not going to play the what-if game, but he was that good, and that's how much he meant to that offense, and that's why things went the way they did. So has great tape from last year. That jumpstarts the recruiting. Then hits the weight room hard, gets out on the baseball field, dominates on the baseball field. All of that increases his recruiting. You'll continue to see offers roll in. You'll continue to see college coaches being interested in, because what that shows them is he's dedicated to whatever is in front of him at the moment. In the season, great tape. Weight room in the offseason, incredible, putting up big numbers, getting stronger, getting faster, getting more mobile, playing baseball, doing great things over there on the baseball field, and that's kind of being the full athlete. So we talk about it a lot. What's cool about these showcases, we get to see these multi-sport athletes. Some of them might be just throwing a football for the first time. Down there, Coach Litton was saying that Brady's coming out, and a lot of times he's not even throwing. He's coming out for the last 20 minutes of practice after baseball, and he's just coaching and watching from a different angle, which is super helpful as a quarterback, too.
And before we kick it to another interview at the Annex, the last thing I want to say, too, is Mesa High School. When Jeremy Hathcock got hired, that's exactly the philosophy that he inputted. He looked at his roster when he got in the spring and said, hey, we have to get faster. So when he came in, he said, I don't care if you guys are not out for track right now. Every single player in this program is going to lift hard, and they're going to go out for track. So we got a huge group of kids out there. Why? It's important. It's a fundamentally for your football program, working in the offseason on speed and weight room. I know it sounds vanilla, but that stuff matters, and that's how you win games in October and November. So going back to bringing in some of these coaches like a Bobby Newcomb and a Jeremy Hathcock, been successful everywhere, their formula to success isn't rocket science. And they do such a good job of implementing that program and coaching it, and that's why their programs are successful.
And that's why we are seeing so many great things here at the Mesa Showcase. On camera right now, you see the big men from Mountain View getting after it. Skyline over there. Coach Schiermeyer has done an incredible job building a military-type culture there. Same thing, though, getting guys to go out to track and be super dedicated to the craft. But speaking of being dedicated to their craft, down in the Annex, Claudia Collins, Jordan Ham, they've got another interview lined up for us. What do you got,
Center, Sophia Diaz to the Compass Center.
Thanks, guys. Well, we've got a morning announcement, it sounds like, but we also have 2 student athletes here with us. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourself before we get started.
Elliot Reed. Kyler Preston.
Hey, thank you guys for joining us. We were just talking with your coach right before you jumped on here, and you guys are you both seniors? I know you're a rising senior, you as well. Yep. So, this is your 4th year under Coach Large, so you know him better than anybody else on the team, I would assume. What's it been like playing for him? How would you describe his coaching style and the way he's grown this program?
It's great. It's a lot of fun. His coaching style is really easy to understand, I'd say.
Yeah, I think he makes people want to be here. He makes people want to show up to practice, want to show up to lifts and stuff, and just makes the team more together.
What sort of strides have you guys seen from freshman year or early on in your careers now as you're approaching senior year that this program's been able to make?
A lot more people showing up consistently. A lot more people actually bought into the program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of the coaching they do is it's a lot for the underclassmen, I'd say, and helping the underclassmen know what it's going to be like when they get to varsity. And what that is not being lazy. It's showing up. It's doing everything you can,
So you guys are both varsity guys. You've been in there for a little bit. How does that message to the younger guys, how are you trying to carry that on and continue to kind of show that example for them?
Just building leaders when they're freshmen. So when we leave, there's more people to step up, more people that will fill our roles.
Yeah, again, it's just helping them understand what it's going to be like when they're on varsity.
You're at day 7 of spring football. What's spring football been like for you guys? Obviously, we've been blessed with amazing weather, which does not always happen in May. If anybody happens to not be watching from Arizona, this is great right now. But what has it been like this spring? What have you learned about your team, and maybe what has the bonding been like?
This spring ball has been amazing. The energy has been way higher than all the past years. I've became friends with a lot more people that I wasn't friends with previous years. Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, it's been good. We have some on the defensive side. We just have some stuff to work on with the younger guys, people coming in first year on varsity. But other than that, it's been really good. I've met a lot underclassmen that I haven't talked to.
When talking to Coach Larch, he's really hammered home the importance of being multi-sport athletes and working the body in different ways and that sort of thing. Elliot, do I have it right that you play rugby?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, take me through. How would you get into it? What does that look like? How do you think it helps you in football? How do you avoid injury? Because I'm sure it's slightly different setup than football.
Yeah. Well, first of all, rugby's an awesome sport. It's a lot of fun. It helps me a lot with physical attributes for football, and I got into it. A lot of my cousins play it. A lot of my cousins play rugby. My older brother played it, so I was like, I want to play. So, and it's been amazing.
And what do you think? Can you see things on the football field where you're like, oh, rugby helped me out in this way?
Yeah, again, just running the ball, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Just being more physical.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm curious, we talked about the motto for this year and the expectations that are coming out of you guys. Obviously, you won 5 games last season. We're just a game short of making the playoffs. What do you think is going to be the difference maker for your team this season that, will win that maybe extra 1, 2, 3 games that will put you guys in a better position this year? What needs to happen for that to happen?
Mm-hmm. We need to keep same energy all year long, and I don't know, we need to win games. We need to work hard at practice. It's the little things
that make the difference.
Yeah, exactly.
The difference is the motto for anyone who's just tuning in.
Just people always showing up, people not showing up to one practice and then miss 2 and then come back for the last day of the week, and just stuff like that.
Who are a couple young guys that you see coming up that are either I was there a couple of years ago. I can really see them kind of blossom into, a stud player or that sort of thing, or just guys that maybe doesn't necessarily have the varsity experience quite yet, but you're really excited to see them on the field on Friday nights.
One player for me is Lundy. He's our middle linebacker right now. He's looking super good. He's just having problems with reading, but he's coming up from freshman, where it's not, you don't do that. But he's been looking really good.
Someone for me is Gavin Gleave. He's a QB incoming sophomore. He's got a great arm. He's got a lot of talent. He's smart. Just he's a lot better than I was when I was a freshman. If I'm going to be honest.
In a position like quarterback, where there's only one out there at a given time, when you have a guy like that, how does that kind of fuel you as a quarterback as well to like, hey, I want to make sure I bring it every day or raise the bar for everybody else in the room on a given day?
Yeah, just helping him understand like what it's like on varsity. You know, he's on varsity this year, so he'll be around me a lot more. But like, just helping him understand, you know, just try to do the best I can to try to create him into like a leader, you know.
Last thing for me before we wrap things up, you know, I like to have a little bit of fun with Bleacher Talk. I know this isn't our familiar Bleacher Talk face, but he is a Jordan, so he can easily fill in for Jordan Spurgeon.
JV Jordan.
Yes. One of the things that we've heard from many of the college coaches that our teammate Eliav Gabai was talking to is that kind of the guys that stand out in these showcases are the ones that seem to be having the most fun and just love football. So when you take a look at your team, like who is maybe one or two guys that always stick out as like they're here to play, they're here to have a good time, they just love it, they're gonna be the ones with the smile on their face?
Yeah, one for me is Atwood. He's injured right now, but he just loves being out there. He loves practice. Even when we're doing conditioning, he's just always like has a bunch of energy, and it's like great to see.
Yeah, same thing. First guy I think of is Preston Atwood. He brings the energy even when he's injured, you know. He's always excited to be out there.
Awesome. Well, I think that does it for us down here. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll kick it back to Spurgeon, Cody.
JV Jordan. I haven't heard that one before. I don't know about that. I think you're definitely varsity, Jordy, but that was funny. We love it. Cody, this is another exciting time up here. You know, we got Mountain View back front and center right now. Lots of action going on. You know, earlier when Claudia and I talked with Coach Litton, you know, a lot of the young quarterbacks getting some development this spring with Brady and the backup being baseball players. So we're seeing just, you know, different things kind of go out. Like this showcase is kind of being used as the top guys getting some timing down with receivers because they don't have a ton of spring time because of playing multiple sports. Not a bad thing at all, but this is a good opportunity for them right now.
And I think the state of Arizona has just really solidified themselves as being QBU in the country, right? I mean, how many quarterbacks do we produce? Just turn on the TV on Saturday and go, wow, Arizona product happens all the time. We kind of even see that trickle into the NFL draft, too.
Sundays now, we got
guys, right?
Two on the Saints
on the Saints battling it out for QB1. And so when you look at showcases like this in spring football and the development part, I think it's really, really cool because every single team has a solidified gunslinger. And, I mean, heck, man, being around high school football now for many, many years, that is a rarity, but we have really solidified ourselves at a state where it doesn't matter where you go to school, you have a quarterback. So when you look at a district like the Mesa Public School District, the biggest district in the state of Arizona, and you look at their teams and you look at associated themselves at quarterback, same thing. It's just so much talent on that side. And as a skill player too, going to what Tommy Eubanks was saying about, hey, we want neighborhood kids to stay here. If you're a skill player playing youth ball, and a lot of these coaches like a Brandon Large, you know, that have young kids that are around their neighborhood feeder programs, your skill player, why would you not want to do it? We've seen it at Red Mountain. I was up here with Jordan Ham talking about Red Mountain, historically known as a running football team. Well, now they have so much young talent at their receiving core. Their offense is going to continue to blow up, and they showed that last year. But this talent that sometimes, let's be honest, maybe 5-6 years ago, even if you lived in a Northeast Mesa, some of those kids are going to Basha. Some of those kids are going to Chandler because those were like destination, you know, quote unquote destination school. But now these Mesa public schools, with all their facilities and all their pride in these quarterbacks, hey, I'm going to go play at Red Mountain and I'm develop as an X receiver, maybe play corner. Hey, Mountain View, they have a Brady Goodman. They have this kid in their arsenal. I want to play with that kid and build something for 4 years. And I think that's really, really special for the district.
Yeah, the development is, you know, one of the most important things. This is what happens when you invest. You invested in facilities. They've invested in great coaches. Every single one of these coaches are some of the best coaches in the state here in the Mesa district now. And I want to make a bold prediction on what you're talking about with quarterbacks. 5-6 years from now, I think we're going to have 5 or 6 starting quarterbacks in the NFL from Arizona.
That's a great prediction.
I think that's a little bold, but there's at least a couple. You know, there's someone like in college like a Devin Dampier potentially, a Damon Williams definitely, you know, has first round potential. Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shuck might have a job. There's Brock Purdy, he's the Niners quarterback. There's so many guys, and so Arizona is a hotbed for that, and it's really incredible to see. We've been seeing the development of it at the high school level the last few years, and then now, like you said, you turn on the TV on Saturdays in the fall, you're going to see an Arizona high school quarterback playing on Saturdays, and then soon on Sundays, you're going to be seeing plenty of guys from Arizona under center as well.
And a lot of their starts were at places like this. I remember DeMond in the Chandler Unified Showcase. As he started as a freshman, DeMond Williams is a rarity in terms of how many games he played and the talent he possesses at the dual threat ability. But after his freshman year, going into his sophomore year, I remember that Chandler Unified day back in 2021, and all eyes were on him at a showcase like this in the spring. Coach Catanzaro, when he was up here, was talking about how unique this is. And California's starting to try to jump on board a little bit, having multiple teams showcase like this. But Arizona was really the birth of it. But having it in the morning, where Mesa Public Schools kind of modeled the Chandler Unified model in terms of the start time, and going, hey, now in our milk route, I know I can see, sometimes I try to see 6 schools in a day. I got 6 schools in 2 hours now that I can see in person and recruit, and once again modeling kind of what Chandler Unified did with that. But right now, seeing the NEU staff, 3 of them being able to go watch 6 schools and go see a Brady Goodman, and they've seen Brady multiple times because he's been up to Flagstaff. But that is huge from a recruiting strategy standpoint, and it's big for the kids. So those names. Yeah, they're extreme. They're the 1%ers, but showcases like this helped a DeMond Williams, and it helped a Devin Dampier.
And front and center right now, too, we've got Mesa, the Jackrabbits out there. Jeremy Hathcock taking over the program this year. Last year at Verado, did a great job getting his team all the way to the semis in 5A before falling to Desert Edge. So I'm excited to see what Jeremy does this year. He is a guy that has been well known around the state for a long time. He's a culture setter. He knows how to get programs where they need to be and maximize the talent. Cody, looking at Mesa, maybe it's not going to be necessarily as quick of a turnaround as it was at Verado, but last year this time, nobody was going to say Verado was going to be a team that'd be one of the best in 5A, and they were. So I'm going to bite my tongue there because this Mesa team could be really, really good under Jeremy Hathcock immediately.
Jeremy Hathcock is a butt kicker, and he wins. Okay, he wins. Kids attack the weight room, and I'm not saying Mesa High School didn't do this the last X amount of years, but the way that he attacks the weight room, the way he pushes for multi-sport athletes, okay, that, once again, the formula for success, you have to win in the offseason in the weight room. That is important. Just kind of seeing the numbers that they've been putting up in the weight room and the excitement and the passion that some of those kids have, kind of listening to interviews that a Richard Obert or a BJ Media that's already gone there and talked to him. And then just talking to Jeremy about it. And yeah, you're 100% correct. It doesn't happen overnight, right? This is a multi-month thing. The important thing was, I think he was able to get in early enough to set the standard before they went into the summer. He got in early enough in the spring where these kids can go into summer ball and go, this is the expectation. And I'm not talking about wins or losses. Like, Mesa's got to win 7 games this year. It's, hey, we better lift hard every single day, or else we're not going to be able to wear that jersey in the back. That type of culture matters, and to these kids when they talk about Mesa High School, maybe some of them don't know the legacy and all that, but Jeremy's bringing that in. He's bringing ex-alums in. He had a great introduction parent meeting that had probably like 150 people in there, Jordan. I mean, it was just massive. It was packed. It was exciting, saying, this matters to be a Jackrabbit. We want to bring that school pride back here. That's how his teams are going to play. And, they got some big kids. They got some kids up front that look really good. They have a linebacker, John Haney, who's on the outside here, is about 6'4", 6'5", 225, 230, who's kind of getting some recruiting traction. He's the class of 2027. They have an inside backer who's really, really talented too. They have some kids. They have some physicality. They're going to run the football. That's what they're going to run the football, and they're going to create turnovers on defense.
And that is always a recipe for success. People kind of overthink it sometimes at the high school level. If you can run the ball and you can get stops, you can win a majority of your high school football games. Yes, once you start playing the top teams in the state, you got to have, a little bit more going on in the passing game. You got to have maybe a little bit of a tighter secondary. But if you can win up front, you're going to win a majority of your games. And that is something that I know from conversations with Jeremy last year at Verado. That's what he was setting up there. And he did an excellent job doing that. They had one of the best rushing attacks in the state last year. And so I expect more of the same here at Mesa. I'm glad they're getting this showcase time. You touched on one of the most important things of these showcases, and this isn't a knock on any one school, but most of these recruiters, they would have gone to Red Mountain one-on-one. They would have gone to Mountain View one-on-one. They may not have gone to a Skyline, to a Mesa, and found some guys that they say, you know what? He looks interesting. They go talk to the coach. Oh, hey, he's a great student. Oh, he's a leader. Oh, he's this. I want to talk to this kid and recruit him. They may have missed it. And I'm not going to say that's exactly the case because these coaches have such great connections. Jeremy Hathcock knows so many college guys, and he can find homes for his kids and all that stuff. But having this opportunity all in one place for these colleges to feel like they're not missing anybody and to find some guys that maybe weren't on their radar, I think this is super important.
100%. Like, you look at a Skyline, you're exactly correct. A school that's done really well. Like, Coach Schermeyer's done a fantastic job of building toughness with that program and getting kids looked at. And it's never a bad idea to go, hey, as a district, even just individually, if schools are going to come look at a Brady Goodman, if schools are going to come look at a Jamison Wade, linebacker for Red Mountain, let's help. It could help a different kid. Coach Catanzaro was sitting here in the booth with me saying, I kind of, and he comes to the state of Arizona about 6 or 7 times a year. So if anybody knows all the kids in the state really, really well, it's probably Coach Cat. And he said, hey, I was looking at Skyline, and there was a couple kids that I didn't know that are now on the top of my recruiting board, like kids, because that stuff happens. And Coach Cat would have he goes everywhere. I swear his milk route, I say 5 or 6 schools a day. He's more probably 9 to 10. But there are some schools that might have not gone there. And so for them to attach and just make it district-wide, and it's just going to help everybody as a whole. And once again, that is the main point of something like this, to help the student athlete.
That's what it's all about. We're doing all these interviews and catching up with great names. And again, it's not about anything other than just passing along knowledge and giving everybody their opportunity to shine. And, I've touched on this a little bit with Jordy. I think you can speak on it even more than I have. And that's the fact that these showcases also are important for the coaches, specifically the assistant coaches, getting to know some of these recruiters, getting to know other coaches around the valley, because end of the day, everybody wants their coaches to stay, of course, but everyone, has career goals. And they want to move up to the next level. There's plenty of high school assistant coaches that want to one day be at college. So this is another opportunity for them here to kind of showcase a little bit of their coaching skill, but more just their relational skills, meeting some of these recruiters and coaches out here.
100%. Red Mountain's going to hate me for this. Kyle Enders could 100% coach college football at any level.
Yes.
At any level. I'm not going to get in the financial discussion on this. Now, granted, coaching D2 and some D3s and even some FCS, coaching salaries are not that amazing. You hear the coaching salaries at the D1 level, the tops, and that's all public info. You can go look on that, and that's all broken down in those public institutions. All those salaries are public info. But the D2s and D3s, some of that stuff, that's rough living, for salary-wise. But Kyle Enders, if an opportunity presents himself, he would be an incredible recruiter, and he'd be an incredible college football coach. So that's a really good point. And we've seen that, though. We have seen high school coaches, Tim Roshman, the DPP at NAU, he was coaching at Millennium and Liberty a couple of years ago. Their quality control coach, Coach Peters, he just came from Liberty a couple months ago. So that trajectory is always really cool to see. And to me, NAU wins has another 8-win season, those guys are going to get nabbed by a better or a higher university that can pay even more. And it's awesome that they had a blueprint here, and it's even better for the following Arizona high school football classes, Jordan, because they will forever recruit the state, and they know the state really well.
And doubling down on that with recruiting, too, I want to reiterate this. I mentioned it earlier, and this is really important for parents and for those showing their student athletes later. It's very important to reiterate. These showcases are not going to be where you typically end up on a Power 4 radar. You either are or you aren't. Yeah. It's how it goes. But if you are a kid or you believe your kid has that potential one day to do that, these things are so important because they can find the right fit for them at any level. Yes. And like you mentioned, just like these coaches, they have great seasons, they get to move up. I always go back to Devin Dampier. He's been the example since I've been here the last 4 years. He goes to New Mexico and he had, maybe some bigger offers. It was a great academic fit for him. It was a great offense built around him. He becomes a national name. He goes on to a Power 4 school at Utah now. His coach moves along, and it's a great fit for him. And he's a guy, potentially heading to Sundays because focused on that. So I say all that to say, parents and players watching this, these things are an opportunity. talk to every single coach that wants to talk to you. Don't just say like, oh, I'm only going D1. You got to talk to these guys because there's trajectories now with the transfer portal to go from an NAI school to an FCS school to an FCS school to a Power 4 school or a Mountain West school. There's all kinds of opportunities. So these things are really the opportunity for that.
And Jordan, what you just mentioned about that is not a lie either. It's happening a lot in recruiting classes where you see the FCS to FBS jump, the D2 to FCS jump. If you want to bet on yourself and play right away,
I know. Well, it was
go into a D2 or go into a D3 or go into an NAIA. That stuff matters, man. So I look at that where I go, you want to believe in yourself and go be an All-American at D2, D3. There will be opportunities for you to jump up and go play D1 FCS level ball.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about at the end of the day is getting your education continued to advance and having an opportunity to play football. You know, I think we've talked to people, and I forget who said it first, but, you know, football doesn't need you, but you can need football for a while. Football is always going to go on, but if you're able to be along for as long as you can and advance your life, then you got to take advantage of it. So that's what this is all about, if you have the passion for it. And listen, every single kid out here, I would say probably 90% of them love football. Some of them maybe don't, and that's okay. You get these experiences and you kind of learn and you understand, like, okay, this is just, I like being here because I have friends. I like being here because it's fun. It keeps me fit. There's nothing wrong with that either. It's still a great opportunity to be here and just have fun with that. As we see nice throw into the end zone. Not complete, but that was, you know, seeing some arm strength out there. And, you know, at these showcases, you know, this is the opportunity where you got a team front and center. If you were recruiting, Cody, I know you're not necessarily a recruiter, but you were looking. I mean, what are some of the things you're looking for in these sessions?
Speed. I don't know. I'm so by the textbook in terms of Friday game film, but out here, lateral speed, how you move the bend. You always hear offensive line coaches recruiting an offensive line in terms of frame, but his bend, I think, is really, really important. But I did listening to some of these college coaches do these interviews here, Jordan. It's kind of interesting where they can also hear about the player being recruitable. I think that's a big part too. And granted, you see that phrase like during a game, but even something like this, is this kid coachable? Does he listen to the coaches? How does he go if a coach criticizes him? Those things that a college coach always talks about with the kid, that we want coachable kids, not any kid that talks back. And you could get a little bit of that here. So just kind of the way they react to their teammates, react to their coaches, and I just want to see speed. And even though this isn't Friday night, just the way they attack and the way they come downhill and then speed, and then I can match that with my eye evaluation of frame to their Friday game film. I think that's how I would attack this.
And you're spot on there. You know, we talked about it, how Brady Goodman's kind of the poster child of it, and there's plenty of others like that. The game film, I think, is the first thing. Obviously, you've already put in years of work in the weight room and in there, but once you have good game film from your sophomore or junior years, maybe your freshman year if you're a freshman on varsity or even below, that's when you take the next step by just showing off at these types of events. If you don't have good film to go with all of this, your odds decrease a little bit. Yes, people are looking for great people, and they want to see some athletic skills in a showcase. But again, you got to have the film to match. That is usually going to be the first thing that brings you, on someone's radar.
I think too I think that's why lifting is so important in the off season, right? And those programs like a Liberty and a Saguaro for many years, a Chandler, a Basha. I think what's really, really important for them is when the season's over, we're attacking the weight room, and so by the time you get down to here, if you're the most physical shape that you've possibly been in your entire life, the coaches are going to be, they're going to see that. They're going to see the frame go, hey, I saw you in a November and December when it was that NCAA contact period, and you have grown significantly, adding 10 to 15 pounds of weight. That stuff matters in terms of recruiting, because it's showing, hey, his work ethic in the weight room. We know how Jamison Wade, who attacks the weight room. We have seen your progression from your sophomore year to your junior year. We know your work ethic in the weight room because we can physically see it. That makes you more recruitable too, and that's why that is important here.
Well, Cody, speaking of work, I know you go into camp counselor Cody mode, working nonstop. Yes. So Jordan Ham's going to come back on up here. But Cody, pleasure as always. Everybody go follow Cody. If you're not, for some reason, you're really missing out because he's going to be plugging all of these kids and really doing his best to kind of drop knowledge all the time. So we appreciate you, Cody.
Appreciate you, man, and great job, production staff. You guys crushed it. Max, you're the man.
So yeah, Jordan Ham's going to come on in, and we're going to keep things rolling. You know, we're nearing the end of the second part of this showcase, and it's been a fun day. You know, we've got lots of guys front and center. You can see a Skyline getting the attention right now. You know, I mentioned it with Cody. Coach Schiermeier's really built a great culture at Skyline. You know, he came in with sort of a militaristic culture setting tone, and it's really resonated with those guys. You know, when they go to media days, they show up in nice shirts and khakis, and they're dressed uniformly, and they just do all the little things right, and that really adds up because, you know, they're not always going to be you know, a team that you look at and say, oh, they're just, you know, this big talented force to be reckoned with. But they go out there and they compete every single Friday, and they play to the best of their abilities, and that's what it's all about. You know, in a second here, Eliav Gabay is going to have a cool interview with us down on the sidelines. Once he is ready, we'll kick it on down to him. Speaking of Skyline, but Eliav, you good? How you doing down there?
The cloud cover is coming on. We love that. I'm here with center for Skyline, Evan Barnhart Mejia. Evan, how are we feeling out here today? You're breaking a sweat, feeling good?
Yeah, it's feeling good. I think we're getting a lot of good work in today, so yeah.
All right, so what have been some of the drills that have stood out to you?
How we did a bunch of O-line, really got deeper into that today.
Now, when you have your guys back here supporting you and cheering you on, y'all can get loud. It's okay. Come on now. Yeah. What does it mean to you to be happy, guys?
I think we just need relationships, and it really helps. It's a team game. It's not just one against each other. That's what it means.
Now, how do you focus on just getting the job done when you know the college coaches are here watching y'all?
It's just about focusing. I mean, you just kind of take that all out of your mind, just like in the game. Take it out of your mind.
Yeah. And now, what are the things you have personally worked on the most this offseason?
I think like being more aggressive and during offense and all that. But yeah.
Now, overall, what can we expect from Skyline this year?
We're gonna do some unexpected things this year for sure. We're gonna do some stuff that no one's expecting. Yeah.
All right. Now, when you look at yourselves in the offseason, then what is kind of the play style we can expect from Skyline?
More aggressive. We're looking to do more running this year, so yeah.
Okay, all right. Not giving too much up. He wants it to be a surprise. Now, for you, overall, how do you feel about the day you've had so far?
I feel like it's great. You know, we're out here, we're having fun, getting better.
Yep. And supporting your guys. What does it mean to you? I know we talked about them supporting you. What does it mean for you to get to support them too?
I mean, it means everything. They're family to me. So, and the stronger we are together, the stronger we are as a team. So yeah.
And what was your coach's advice about coming out here before you came out here and started doing all the drills?
Just get better. Don't worry about anyone that's looking at you. Just get better and keep pushing through it.
Now, for you, how have you seen over the past few years these showcases grow more and more, and just the attention to Arizona high school football grow more?
Yeah, so like this is the first year we've ever had media out here. So I think that's really cool, and it's trying to push further into our first year. Like future kids, younger kids get to see this and really get pushed to play football.
Now, overall, when you think about college and you think about playing at the next level, how have you kind of focused on developing yourself as a person as well, not just on the field when you think about going to the next level?
I'm just trying to develop myself. I'm trying to stay locked in. Nothing really. Don't go to sleep late. Don't do stuff out of school. Don't be doing dumb stuff. And yeah.
All right. Anything you want to add about Skyline before we go?
Hey, nothing. We're just gonna win out this year.
All right. Shout out to Skyline. Appreciate you, man. Good luck, and we're gonna send it back to the booth.
Eliav, great job as always. We appreciate it. Nice work down there on the sidelines. And we are just, wrapping things up here. Jordan Spurgeon alongside Jordan Ham. And, I know you got a chance down there in the annex. Talk to Coach Large, who helped kind of put this whole thing together here at Westwood. What are some of your thoughts so far?
I think that each program had an awesome opportunity today, and it feels like they took advantage. And you go through the logistics of having 3 teams on a field at one time, and they're trying to do different things, and they're trying to do 7-on-7s when their other teams are trying to do big man and this and that. It seems like everything went really seamlessly. So kudos to all the organizers. The fact that we're working in a live broadcast, and feels like it's gone really, really well. Kudos to all the hard work on production as well. But yeah, these showcases we touched on at the beginning of the broadcast this is a great time to show out in front of some college coaches, to show who you are as a player, show who you are as a person, who you are as a teammate. And I feel like a lot of schools, like we said, maybe offers won't necessarily come from today, but that piece of the puzzle all of a sudden is put in of this guy's a good teammate. This guy works really hard. Hey, I noticed this guy had a little bit of a growth spurt. Maybe it's someone we should look at. And there's a lot of great opportunities, whether it's D1, D2, D3, NAIA. If you want to get your education paid for, if you want to continue to play the game you love, like there's a lot of opportunities out there. You just have to know where to look. And I think this was a great opportunity for the players just to learn more about what may be out there for them in the future.
And that's what it's all about. Coach Cat, when he joined Cody earlier during the break, he mentioned, hey, there were some guys from Skyline, he had no clue who they were, and they're now towards the top of his board of guys that he's interested in taking a look at. And that's what this is. It's a good first step for these guys. We see Brady Goodman back out there again, like I keep reiterating because he is a really good example. He did things right. He got really good game tape last year, was a phenomenal player. He got stronger in the weight room, and he's dominating on the baseball field. That's something where when he throws the ball, every coach that's been here and every coach that's still here, all eyes are on him, and that's because of the work that he's put in that's going to match his tape and only continue to see him grow. But, yeah, this is the perfect event. Like we said, all these coaches in one place because they would not have been at all these schools potentially. Some of them are really good at stopping at every school, but there's so many schools to get to. You can't always get to every school, and if you don't know of a prospect or you don't know a coach very well, it's harder to get out to that school. But this gives them an opportunity. And media too. I saw BJ Media, I saw Adam Beadle and JJ Digos and all kinds of people out here. They just get to see all these schools and talk to coaches and players and get to know what's going on, transfers coming in, all that stuff. In one spot. It's convenient for everybody, and that's why I think it's just been so well here in Arizona. I'm not going to toot our horn at all, but we hear many coaches that have been in different states talk about it. The media landscape in Arizona is a lot different around high school sports than it is in other states, and so I think that plays a role in this, and I think that is something that it's going to continue to grow, and it's fun to be a part of it.
There's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah.
So when it comes to a college coach, what I have learned, whether I am covering recruits, whether I am trying to do a feature interview, if you can make it as easy as possible for a college coach to sit down and knock out what they need to do, they are much more willing to do it. So the fact that you're making it easy for these college coaches, I think is really, really key. And who knows, with the, like we talked about at the beginning of the broadcast, with the way the transfer portal is and guys mature at different rates and guys, games elevate at different rates. So it may be, hey, first couple of years you're at this level, then all of a sudden something in your game changes a little bit. Building these relationships now are so important because, on the college side, you see it where it's, hey, we got, maybe we missed out on a recruit coming out of high school, but 2 years later they're looking in the portal, hey, we still have a good relationship. You trust me. You know me a little bit more than maybe some of the other coaches recruiting you. So that's how we can kind of expedite this process a little bit. It's the same for the players. There's a give and take here. There's a symbiosis almost. So I think this is a great opportunity for everyone involved here.
I agree. And speaking of that, we need to know some more players. Eliav Gabai's got a couple guys with us. Who's there with you, Eliav?
I'm here with Ian Stevenson and Joseph Haney. Everybody take a wild guess. Who are the athletes between us three? And I know you know who it is. Okay, great. Now, fellas, the big fellas, how we doing? How was the day so far? How was the day overall?
It was pretty chill. Just walking around how all the other teams are doing, see like who we're gonna go against on the schedule, and seeing all these new recruits.
Wait, were you sizing these guys up out here?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, there's some big guys, but like we can compete for sure.
Okay, all right. Now, overall, how are you able to focus on what you need to do, even though these college coaches are watching?
Well, it just takes experience and training, repetition mostly, so you don't feel nervous. Because I've been watching all these young guys, they're like messing up on their drills because they're all these new college recruits, like, oh, shoot. Yeah.
And when you see the young guys, you're like, oh, I remember those days.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, last year I was a freshman, and coming up this year, I was super nervous. I got brought up to varsity. I remember my freshman game. I was playing horribly, but I think just knowing that you just got to do your job and just do what's good, and then you'll be ready for sure.
Now, going into a day like this, what was the advice from Coach like?
He was saying even though the coach recruits are over here, you perform like you do at practice because it's just spring practice at the end of the day.
And for you, was it the same message?
Oh yeah, we just gotta have fun and compete and have fun for sure.
And now, have you had a chance to talk with any of the college coaches while you're here?
Yeah, we talked to Lake Forest, Southern Utah University.
Yeah, what was the conversation like?
Oh, they're just asking how am I doing, what major I'm going into, and why I love football.
What have the conversations been like with you?
I just talked to NAU. They gave me an offer today.
Oh,
Yeah,
congratulations.
thank you. They're just asking me what I love about football. So,
Okay, all right. So then I'll ask you both. What do you love about football?
man, I just love to hit people, and it's just fun to compete with my boys. It's a family for sure. So, just being able to play a game that we can all be together it's just like no other. So,
What about you, Ian?
I love how it's the one sport how you could crack someone without going to jail.
Common denominator.
And your boys that you play with, they end up becoming a family for many years.
All right, so for you guys, for the freshmen watching, and for the players that have the showcase coming up, is your advice to them?
you just gotta compete. Don't think about it. Just do your job and have fun for sure.
What about you, Ian?
Like what he said, compete. It's just another practice, but just college scouts watching. Just play all natural.
All right, well, for Ian and Joseph, Mesa, you know what? Before we let you go, what can we expect from Mesa football this year?
Mesa football? Ooh, just with Halfcock alone, we're going to have a great season going against these high teams because this is supposed to be the hardest schedule we had in many years. So stay tuned for that.
Oh, stay tuned, he said. Stay tuned. Okay, and what play style can we expect?
Man, we're just gonna be rough. We're gonna come hard and hit you where it hurts. So we're excited to play and be aggressive.
Rough and rowdy, Mesa football. Thank you, fellas. We're going to send it back up to our fellas in the booth.
Rough and rowdy. I like that. Great work, Eliav. Awesome getting to know these guys. And super excited. You know, we talked about it earlier, me and Cody. Mesa football, what we can expect this year. Jeremy Hathcock is going to come in and set the tone. It looks like he already has. It's rubbing off on his players. They want to play physical. They want to play tough. And that's how you change a culture around very quickly. And it's never an overnight job, but if anyone can get a team to win games consistently the right way quickly, it's Jeremy Hathcock. He's done it time and time again.
If there's any coach where it's their play identity is synonymous with the coach's name, I'd say Jeremy Hathcock is one of those first ones you think of you know what you're getting when you play a Jeremy Hathcock team. And certainly they'll adjust year to year and do that sort of thing, but at the end of the day, it is football, and you need to be physical to play football, and that is what Jeremy Hathcock is going to do when he is instilling a game plan, no matter where he is or where he's coaching.
Yeah, that is one thing that goes on. You know, same thing right now. You see Mountain View, Andy Litton, same way. You know, his first year at Horizon wins a championship. First year at Mountain View last year, gets to the 6A championship game, and he is somebody that is continuing to set the mold. So it's been exciting getting to see these guys for the first time this spring and see who's gotten bigger and see who's gotten stronger and kind of learn some of the new names around the programs that, you know, maybe didn't play much last year. It's been great talking to the coaches, and this is what it's all about, Jordan. It's been a really solid event. All the coaches so far we've talked to have had a great time putting this on for their guys, and it's just, I can't say enough about what this showcase means. You know, there's so many in Arizona now, and all of them have their strengths, but this one right here in Mesa seems like it's definitely going to set a precedent moving forward for these showcases.
Yeah, especially when you're the first one, or one of the first ones, I should say. You need to set the tone of how are these going to look, who's going to come out to them, is your team going to be sharp, is it going to be well organized? And I think they set the bar really, really high for any of these future showcases here coming up over the next couple of weeks. And yes, it is easy to it's easy almost to mix them up. There are so many in a 2-week span where there is so much going on, so they can kind of blur together. I think this was very unique in the way that they did it. They did it early in the day. They had the entire district here. They had it very well organized, and now hopefully other districts can come in and learn a couple things, and you know, all these districts can kind of trade kind of secrets almost of you know, effective ways to do this, because at the end of the day, it is helping getting some eyeballs on these athletes, helping pay for their education, improve their lives at the end of the day. So hopefully that the state as a whole can kind of come together and say, hey, we have this really unique thing here that is pretty statewide. How can we make the rising tide lift all ships.
You know, that's the end of all of the drills on the field. We still got a couple more things, I think, coming your way. We're kind of working toward to see Eliav goodbye, trying to chase somebody down. I saw Claudia
Relentless.
Collins. Relentless.
If I had a
Eliav
scouting
Gabai.
report for Eliav Gabai, his pursuit is relentless. He has been grabbing interviews left and right throughout the day. It's been great to have him, and the Bleacher Talk crew, got to sit in on that. But some of the in-depth interviews, especially with some of the coaches, has been really, really great.
Like I told Cody, it's parents watching this, and hopefully student athletes that are looking back at this with their parents. There's a lot of learning opportunities from this. We hope we showcased a lot of the on-field product and some of the drills and gave you some tape on that. But realistically, one of the best things I think is coming out of this is just all the knowledge that was dropped from so many coaches from different walks of life. Charlie Regal had so much to say. Other coaches as well from different levels. It's something. Danny Gonzalez at Arizona, talking about some of the things he's done and talking about, the NIL. And there's interesting perspectives here that I think a lot can be learned from parents, from administrators, from coaches that they want to watch back on this. And that's really what it's all about. If you're able to learn something about what the future can hold and how to go about that, I think that is super powerful. So it's been great to see. And I think we still got a little bit more coming here soon.
About 5 to 10 years ago, I would have said high school recruiting is a Rubik's Cube. Now with all of these new elements, it's a liquid Rubik's Cube where it's falling through your fingers as you're trying to figure out this puzzle. So the more knowledge you can get from the coaches who are there, the more perspectives you can get, the better it's going to be.
Speaking of more knowledge, Claudia Collins down in the annex. What do you got for us, Claudia?
And we got his hat sitting right here on the desk, and I'm only starting with this because I heard you talking with someone else out there about. We've been out to Skyline before. We know your hat game. What's this about? How long has this one lasted?
This is relatively new. This is new for spring, so
it looks fresh.
Yeah, it's brand new. It's a new color, and it's number 3. So yeah, so it's part of the hat wardrobe now, but it's the new one, and hopefully it lasts a few years.
Let's talk spring football, the obvious question here, and the showcase today. What does having a showcase like this mean for your team and as far as opportunity goes for these guys?
Yeah, I think for our kids, it's just, we might not have some of the recruits that a lot of schools might know about. So getting them out in front of 40 college coaches and seeing what we have at Skyline, I think is an important piece for us. There's talent in our hallways. So, I think it's, maybe sometimes you look over some schools that might not have been as successful as some of the schools in our district as of late. So, I think it's vital that our kids get some of the exposure, and, they enjoyed it. They worked hard, and they, were planning on this day for a while.
That's what this is about, exposure. I host the recruiting roundup with Cody Cameron, and so a lot of the things we talk about is D1 is not the only opportunity. There's D2, right. D3, NAIA. I mean, having good grades is part of the equation, especially for the guys that maybe aren't going to go D1 but can still get college paid for and play at the next level. How much are you kind of preaching on that when you come to things like this?
Yeah, that is... For us, we might have a few D1 bodies. Our roster isn't loaded with them with some of the schools like in the East Valley, but we had 6 kids go play college football from our team last year, so it's from D2 to NAIA, junior college. So our kids want to play, keep playing, and obviously the grades is a big piece of that, and I think just, this is year 22, and having been in education for so long, like now I'm seeing, like, there's a couple coaches out there that either I coached them or I was their teacher when I did elementary school, or, I start seeing familiar faces as they start to, go off into their career, and it's kind of cool to see that. But then, you also have that relationship already built in, and they probably trust what you tell them. And so that's a big piece of it. I don't want to tell some of the kids that, you know, I coached that I coached in high school that are now college coaches that, you know, this kid is going to, you know, has good grades and will do this for you and works like this, and then ultimately shows up and doesn't do any of that. So, you know, I think just having that open line of communication, that trust aspect's a big piece of the recruiting.
Let's hammer down on Skyline football. I mean, spring football, it's all about kind of putting the pieces together, figuring out what your fall might look like.
Mm-hmm.
Are you starting to paint that picture?
Yeah, we are. Some of the schematics are changing a little bit on defense. So we have an awesome defensive coordinator that we brought in, and the kids are buying into it right away. And, you know, really spring ball for us is still young. I know a lot of schools got to jump on it in terms of like maybe doing some stuff after school or some 7-on-7 stuff. Well, we didn't. And so it's super new to us right now. And they've done a great job with some of our expectations on what it should look like. And, you know, I'm excited for the kids. I think we might see a few wrinkles here and there from us, but we want to make sure we're doing what our personnel tells us that we're capable of doing. So, yeah, I'm excited. We worked hard in the weight room. We're young again. Our juniors seem to be some of our strong leaders. We have most of our offensive line coming back. A lot of starters on defense, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm excited for these guys and to get rolling in 25.
Who are those leaders for you, and what qualities do they like really exhibit as leaders?
Yeah, so we have every type of leadership, you know, skill or ability. We have the quiet leaders, the lead by example guys, the vocal guys, the ones that are just the grinders. So we, in being young, you know, we want to make sure that we're identifying some of the leaders that will be leaders as they grow up into, you know, the program and become seniors. But some of the leaders that are sticking out right now, we have some juniors and seniors. Broden McCabe, he's an offensive lineman for us. Sammy Telef, he's an offensive lineman for us. Owen Claridge, he's going to probably be one of our quarterbacks under center this year. Jaden Manzare, quiet leader, strongest kid on the team, one of the fastest kids on the team. He leads by example, you know, and he's going to be a junior. And then we even have some freshmen to be sophomores that are really buying into what we're doing and really want to take on a leadership role. So again, you know, from top to bottom, we're trying to identify those young kids and develop them as we become older in the program.
I've closed out every interview with every coach this way because you always have a motto for the season. So what is it going to be this fall if you've got one lined up?
You know, it's funny because like we typically try to, you know, have a motto lined up, but it's, you know, and this is kind of a brand that as we redone our weight room and, you know, start making things look different around our campus athletically, and even on campus like academically, but you know, one pack, one goal, and that is just kind of what we're kind of staying with, and I like it because it just says, you know, there's going to be a bunch of us, but we ultimately, you know, we're going to be working as one, and we have one goal in mind, and that's, you know, to finish at the, you know, state championship if we're lucky enough, but. You know, ultimately is get better every day and grow and be able to know when you look in the mirror that you gave it your best, and that's all I can ask for.
I lied. I have one more question
Okay.
for you, but it's because you brought it up.
Okay.
We've been talking as far as Mesa school districts go, all of the upgrades that so many of these schools have been getting. You said new weight room. How important has that been for like the mental game of your players and just having the excitement of this newness?
Yeah, it's pretty cool, you know, and we're really lucky, and Tommy Eubanks has been
He's all right.
He's been the ultimate athletic director in terms of district wide, and we just have a lot of people in our corner that want everybody to succeed. Whether it doesn't matter where we stand in the district in terms of you know, region and placing and that sort of thing. They want everybody to be successful, and you know, and you can feel that. And Tommy's a big piece of that puzzle. But the kids just, they love it. They love the equipment. And I think the cool thing for me is, like, I had some guys come in, some coaches, even, a substitute this morning, and they walk in for the first time and like, oh my gosh. They're like, what is this? And even some college guys, college coaches, they come in and be like, this is really, really, really nice. So, that is a pride thing, and we want to take pride in our facilities, and so that is, I think, a big piece, because hopefully they hear some of these people talking about some of the facility upgrades, and maybe they sit a little bit straighter in their chair, and they walk with their head a little bit higher because of some of the things they've been given and opportunities they've been given.
That's awesome. And I want to send it back to you guys in a second here, because I'm pretty sure the entire Skyline football team is on the bus, and he's hoping they don't leave without him.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining me. We'll send it back up to Cody and Spurge.
Thank you.
Can't leave without Coach. Claudia, great work as always. And, I think that pretty much brings us to the end here. It's been a great showcase for the Mesa Public Schools. Jordy, any final thoughts?
Just a well-run, organized event. I think it benefited a lot of people, particularly the student athletes, and that's what we've been preaching past couple hours. That's what it's all about, and they set the bar really high, I think, for the rest of these showcases the rest of the spring.
Well, that'll do it for Sports 360 AZ. Shout out Bamboo Productions for putting on this whole thing. Incredible work. Everyone's giving Tommy Eubanks his flowers. I don't want to give him too many, but seriously, Tommy, great work organizing this and putting it together. And thank you to Westwood High School for having us all out here and having the showcase hosted here. It's been a great time. So shout out to the entire crew. Shout out to all of you for viewing, whether you viewed live or checking this out later to get some knowledge from all the coaches. Shout out to Eliab Gabai for getting so many on the sidelines. Great work in the annex, getting coaches' perspectives. We even had Dr. Jim Dean, the incoming executive director for the AIA. Shout out to him for joining us in, Dr. Jim Dean. And I'm rambling, so we're going to get on out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.